Good afternoon everyone and welcome along to Sydney Parade for this afternoon's game in the IP20 trophy. We have the Northern Derby with the Northwest Warriors taking on the Northern Knights. Earlier on today, if you were with us, you would have seen the Leinster Lightning continue their winning ways. Another bonus point victory for them. The tournament has been won by the Leinster Lightning, but as we've just discussed, this is a Northern Derby here, plenty to play for. Northwest Warriors always step up their game when they're taking on their neighbours, the Northern Knights. So you'll see that the Northwest Warriors in the field, and the McBrine called correctly right about an hour ago and has decided to bowl first today. It'll be Paul Stirling and Ross Adair out in the middle as usual at the IP20 Festival. Delighted to have Isabel Joyce beside me. Isabel, looking forward to this one today. These two have a little bit of needle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for the Northwest Warriors, a brave call to bowl first against two players just coming into form. Paul Stirling and Ross Adair, just surprised maybe a little bit by the extra bit of lift. Graham Hume having a look at the pitch as that one rose sharply past the Ireland captain Paul Stirling.
Yep, if you were with us earlier on today, you'd have seen the Leinster Lightning field first in that game as well and got a little bit of movement and shape. Had the Munster Reds and all sorts of bother earlier on. Was a little bit of movement, see if that can continue. It's got enough on that, just got enough on that. Paul Stirling again, his heart would have been in his mouth a little bit when he made contact, but once it got on the ground it was always going to skip away for four. He gets off the mark with a boundary on his second delivery.
Yeah, I think important was the direction, because he didn't get the contact he would have wanted and it kind of caught the inside of the bat, which is a little bit lucky. And Andy McBrine quite tight in the circle there in mid-off. Maybe if he'd been hanging on the ring as we saw from Curtis Camphor earlier, I don't think he would have caught up with it, but it might be a better ploy against two guys who are definitely going to be looking to score in boundaries.
Yeah, we saw quite a bit of that sort of movement up in Brady, particularly in that innings you're talking about, where they sort of blitzed the Munster heads all around the place. Initial movement, it's not really a ramp you would see from other players. He kind of steps inside the line and more hopes that he gets the ball into his hip where he can sort of flick it round the corner.
Yeah, I like it as an option for him. It's different things suit different players with their setups, and that's what I think works best for Paul Stirling. Tries it again there, but difficult shot to execute against Graham Hume when the ball is swinging. It's always leaving you to the offside. But yeah, I'm excited to see hopefully these two can back up their performance against the Munster Reds. Obviously it's different, playing different opposition, but 60 from 29 from Ross Adair, and Paul Stirling 79 not out from 34 in that innings, and it was obviously shortened because of Duckworth Lewis. They managed to get the results they wanted without having to go back out after rain.
The man out in the boundary, Cameron Milley. Another one of those gets stationed straight away. Yeah, it was a very welcome return to form for both of them, really. You know, we sort of thought maybe one would come off, but they both sort of decided we're going to break the shackles today, and it was 132, I think, was the partnership, just short of
The
a record. And blitzed it all round Mahara Mason that day. So we're going to see Ross Adair now.
Yeah, well, Paul Stirling's battled through a little bit a couple of occasions. Ross Adair less so. He really hadn't made any score up until that 60 from 29. So timely from him, and he'll want to make a few more scores this week, I think, before the T20 festivals are over, just to make sure that his name is still in the reckoning. Yes, the trophy is gone, but there's, as you said, so much to play for, and apart from just wanting points and wanting to move up in terms of the ladder, it's individuals want to put performances in.
A ball from Hume, nice and tight to Adair, doesn't give him the width he's looking for. So good start from Graham Hume. Just a 6 from that opening over. Sterling on 5. Ross it there. Yet to get off the mark. There are your Northern Knights. Their hastily assembled tent. One change for them today. Not in the batting lineup. It's Adam Kennedy's come in as an extra seamer for Ryan Pretorius. They will lose, obviously, Pretorius's ability with the bat. Kennedy, seam bowler, Lisburn club. So, speaking of Lisburn, here's Ryan Macbeth. We haven't seen him this year in the IP20 trophy. He's been missed by the Warriors. Good new ball bowler, usually shapes it around. This might suit him.
Yeah, very good away swing bowler, and we've seen him for many a year. Swinging the ball away, no amazing pace, but more about, it's kind of, I suppose, somewhat like Graham Hume. He's not as tall a bowler, but it's more about that skill with the moving ball and bowling good lengths, rather than out and out pace like we would have seen from David Delaney earlier, where genuinely a couple of times he just was too quick for players. A little chip from Paul Sterling, and a bit dismissive as well, hitting towards the clubhouse. I think Andy McBrine was interested for a little while, but gave it up as a bad job pretty quickly.
Yeah, a little bit of a wedge up to the green here. Just a little lift. Yeah, a little golf shot there from Paul Sterling, but very effective. And we saw this in the first over of the Reds innings. Ball into the hedges. This one's been located a little bit quicker. Nice little shot there, improvised shot. You can see that normally, but just a little punch.
A good way to play Ryan Macbeth, because if you try and whack him around, the bit of late swing can get you into trouble. But if you're willing to just wait for it, play it under the eyes and not go for too much power, that's probably the way to go. Good comeback from Macbeth.
Yeah, maybe even just lessen your backswing, even just a little bit of a shorter backswing, and just go through the ball as it swings, because as you say, he's not quick, so you can always adjust if you've got that little short backswing and then punch it rather than go through with a full-blooded swing of the bat. You get full value here as usual. It's quickened up a little bit since this morning.
Oh, there's the length, I think, for Ryan Macbeth. He should be sticking on there for as long as he can, as long as the ball is moving. And he's just one of two changes. Ryan Macbeth is in, as is Gavin Ralston, who has been in the squad pretty much throughout, but hasn't got a go yet. So today he gets his opportunity. And the two that I've mentioned in place for Harry Zimmerman and Robbie Miller. Robbie Miller, the leg spinner, missing out. Maybe we were surmising because of how the two leg spinners went earlier this morning. Not too great. Ben White and Gavin Hoey unsuccessful this morning, you'd have to say. No wickets and plenty of runs off their overs. And
no turn either. Didn't seem to be any turn on offer at all for certainly the leg spinners. So it could be they've had a look at it, and they were here this morning and just had a bit of a look at both of those leg spinners and thought, okay, well, let's strengthen our batting a little bit. And brought in Gavin Ralston. Doesn't time it. Gets off the mark. Final ball of the second, and decent over from Macbeth to start his campaign. As I say, he's been missing for the Warriors, and that's what they've missed. A little bit of control, a little bit of swing earlier on, threatening that outside edge. 6 from his over, 6 from Hume, and it's 12 without loss.
Yeah, a bit of a sedate start compared to that Munster Reds chase. Well, you'd have to say Northwest Warriors, their strength is their bowling, especially now with Ryan Macbeth back in. got the spin of McBrine. This is in the air and chance underneath it. Does really well. I think that's Scott Macbeth who has made his way back. Swing away from the right-hander for Graham Hume. And I think Rossiter just looking to go too straight. Bit of late swing, takes the outside half, and Macbeth makes good ground, watches it all the way into the hands.
Yeah, that was the key. Made good ground. Sort of picked it up very early where the ball was going to be heading. Got himself to the sort of X point where the ball was going to land, and that meant he was able to slow down. Just see him here as he comes in. There, he's able to slow as he's taking the catch because he's got there really quickly. If he's on the move and he's trying to take that over his shoulder, probably much more difficult. So, good bit of technique there from Scott Macbeth. Made it probably look a little bit easier than it was. He takes the catch, and another low score for Ross Adair as he tried to go straight down the ground there. He goes for one. That brings Cade Carmichael out to the middle. 12 for 1. Good reward there for Graham Hume.
Yeah, they've generally, apart from that game against Munster Reds, they've generally lost an early wicket, the Northern Knights, and it's once again back to a familiar tale for them as Cade Carmichael. You wonder, perhaps he should just be elevated a spot and get to open the batting. He's looked well organised and gone at a good rate as well. Maybe, I'd love to know what the selectors are thinking in terms of the opening pair for the Ireland team. Rossiter, apart from that 60, well out of form. And Tim Tector right in form, so possibly a little shuffle. Rossiter down the order.
Yeah, we had a quick chat about that earlier, more in regard to Tim Tector when he was playing, obviously, but as it now reflects back, we're watching the Knights now, and Rossiter goes for another score. We just mentioned he would have loved to have got even 2 out of 3 innings here and got 40s, 50s, and look back to what we know he can do. But again, there's the first one of the week gone.
I think if there's swing around, then that's maybe where his Achilles heel is. A bit of late swing. That's flayed away, and that should race towards the boundary. Cameron Melly won't be able to get there in the deep, and just kind of check the shot there, Cade Carmichael, which usually we say is a bad idea, but I think it's actually helped him there. That could have flown to Melly in the deep if he'd gone through at the shot.
Yeah, I'll give him a wee bit of the benefit of the doubt there. He's maybe sort of checked it a little bit to keep it behind squares. It runs away really quickly. You can see here, rather, Anthony McBrine just advises Cameron Melly to give it a couple of yards. In fact, he calls him again, gives him another couple of yards, so he's gone 5 to 6 yards to his left. Well bowled, Hume. That's the length he bowls.
Yeah, just about Ross Adair finally. The swinging ball as an opener, you have to be able to deal with that, and it just hasn't looked like Ross Adair's biggest strength, playing the swinging ball. And when you're playing in somewhere like Abu Dhabi or Dubai, it's no swing on offer, then yes, Ross Adair at the top of the order makes sense. But playing England here in 3 T20s in September, do you say, right, it's going to be swinging around, or do you look towards India, Sri Lanka and say it's not going to be swinging there, so we're going to stick with our power hitter at the top? It's not an easy job for the selectors or the captain or the coach, and that's not easy either. Cameron Melly's been sent the other way and makes a valiant effort in the deep. I think he's hurt himself a little bit as well as he tries to keep that in, but just doesn't quite get there. Hopefully it's not a visit to the orthodontist as he bounced up uncomfortably.
I think he might be, not that you want to give him too many eerie glances at the skipper, but I think he might be looking at the skipper saying, you've just moved me 10 yards to my left, and then he plays it in front. I've got to come right across. I
have to say, I think you set the field for the strong shot, not the edgy shot. That's the shot that Cade Carmichael wants to play.
This one's a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, that's where Cameron Melly would be frustrated. That was the shot that Kate Carmichael would have been aiming to play. So 9 in that over, as well as the wicket off the first ball. 3 gone. Northern Knights 21 for 1.
There's our venue for today, and indeed this week. Pembroke Cricket Club, Sandymount. A little bit brighter. Those clouds pretty grey this morning, and that might have helped the swing as we talked about, but it's a little bit brighter today. Not much warmer, I have to say, but dry, which is first port of call.
Hmm.
Okay, he's taking the slip out. The 4th over.
Interestingly, for Macbeth, cover the 1 out in the boundary, so it's an acknowledgement that he's not express pace. Generally, we've seen deep point out in the boundary. A player there more for the regular drive. So kind of a backward point to point, cover on the boundary extra at mid-off. And then kind of a conventional field in the leg side, square leg, I think just in front on the boundary. Hard to tell from our angle, but 45 in the ring, mid-wicket and mid-on.
Can't beat the fielder. Cheeky again. He's in the cover. So certainly not the flyer that the Knights would have been hoping to replicate from their last game. But on the flip side of that, again, they don't really want to go down the same path that they have in those losing games that they had in the middle of the tournament. Too many wickets too early.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in the chase, they got off to a flyer, didn't they? 19 from the first over, and then the 3rd over went for 20. And there was 13, lots of high-scoring overs, as you can imagine, when you make 152 from 11 overs. But they are the kind of pair, Sterling and Rossiter, that once they start going, they really can just continue. It's not 1 or 2 overs of double figures, it's multiple.
Yeah, and that's a wee bit of the conundrum
Yeah,
you're talking
exactly.
about for the selectors, because you know exactly that if these guys get going, the game's over. It's done. You know, it's done. And even at international level, if they come off, you're really setting yourself up. So if you're not going to select them in that position, there's always a bit of, oh, what if
how many times out of how many do they need to do it? Is it
exactly.
1 in 8? You say, right, they're going to win us 1 in 8, and
1
then
in 8.
if they don't come off the other 7 times,
is it worth
that's
it?
the other that's the other guys, and we've got to do a bit better in all the other departments. I don't know, and I wonder how often they do come off, you know, as a pair.
Yeah, that's one for the guy next door here.
Yes, 100%. That's in the air, but it's going to go all the way. The acceleration through the ball from Paul Sterling, just incredible. He said he's not express pace, but he still manages to flay that over the offside for 6.
Yeah, just watch what, as he's talking about here, watch the bat speed. Look at that, and the full swing through after he's made contact. It bounces off the back wall there. The ball absolutely flies when he makes contact.
Just tightens him up a little bit there, and he's one of the few, Ryan Macbeth, that can swing the ball from leg to off, as he does just then to close out the over. Just the 7 from it, pretty tidy from Macbeth. How they've missed him. 28 for 1.
Yeah, that is his skill. You're right. Just nips it back. Swings one away, can nip one back the other way.
There's Mary Waldron, back from Australia, and the blue jumper.
Yeah.
And those are your Northern Knights under 17s?
17, 15s, is it? Well, good to see them in either way. Watching the cricket here. I'm sure they'll be watching Paul Sterling pretty keenly here for a couple of reasons.
Looking to emulate his ability, no doubt.
Also making sure they don't get pinged.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
So, change of bowling. 2 good overs from Graham Hume to open up with. Standard stuff from him. Going to be replaced now by David O'Sullivan. This is the key for the Warriors now. Sullivan's been good for 2 or 3 overs in his spell, but always one tending to let him down. Good fielding there. It'll really back him up. Just doesn't want to release any pressure. With a poor over here, they've done quite well, just at 7 at the moment. Keep it tight for these 2 overs.
A little bit of movement in and kind of a hack, really.
It's just the very word I was thinking. It's not very Kate Carmichael like.
Yeah, I think he was looking down the ground, then just had to follow the ball as it nipped back in at him. Something in this pitch for both the batters and the bowlers, you have to say. There's that shot again, finds Carmichael in the deep, and it looks like a plan that's come off. He tried it once in the previous over and it came off, but not on this occasion. Paul Stirling just can't resist the full wide one, and we were talking about the placement of that man in the deep in exactly the right place to take the catch, and that's a very important one as well. It's always important taking the wicket of Paul Stirling. Goes for 16 from 12. 29 for 2.
Yeah, that's why Andy McBrine's out there, skipper for the Warriors for the last 8 years. And why I'm sitting in here. Because he's picked him out perfectly there. Maybe that's the ball that was planned, outside off. Carmichael doesn't really have to move in the end. Takes a comfortable catch, and as soon as it came off the bat, you're kind of looking up and thinking that's towards that fielder, and it certainly wasn't. 2 good strikes for the Warriors. We asked about Sullivan backing up his opening 2 bowlers. He's done more than that. He's got the wicket.
I will say, I think Cameron Melly went back to his original position. That's where he took the catch. He wasn't as backward as he was the previous over for Graham Hume. He was a little bit straighter for the slightly slower David O'Sullivan.
Either way, it's worked. 29 for 1 becomes 29 for 2. In the middle of the 5th. 2 wickets gone again. Just see Andy McBrine waving over at the tent here beside us as analyst. I wonder, is he just waving and saying, there you go? That's exactly what I planned.
Well, the interesting thing for this tournament is Morgan Topping gets off the mark with a single. It's the same analyst for everyone.
Yep.
So, you know, you've got, what a great exercise for him to figure out the weaknesses of his own players, because he's almost working against them for each other.
For and against, yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah.
Paul Stirling, you know, how do you say to Paul Stirling, look, I think you got a weakness in X, Y, and Z? Rather, you tell the Northwest Warriors, look, I think you can get him out like this, and then that tells its own story.
Exactly, yeah. That's a really good point, yeah. He's got to look at every team.
Yeah, so when he's trying to maybe, or the coaching staff are trying to say we think you need to tighten up on X, Y, and Z, they've got the data from this top competition to go to the players and say, well, look, we've noticed this, and then we've given the task to the Northwest Warriors, said this is how we think it'll work, and it's paid off. So we really think you need to.
And then it feeds back the other way then, yeah.
Yeah, so this now we're going to go into a training block, and we're going to make it more difficult to get you out that way. Well, that looked like it was going to go many a mile if he'd managed to catch up with it, but it just kept leaving him down leg side, Cade Carmichael. I wonder are Mr. and Mrs. Carmichael still going to be doing some fielding around the boundary?
Don't think so. I think they're heading back home. It's a good weekend for them, actually, for Kids Club side. 2 big wins for his Estonians. Cut on the offside. Macbeth will fill that. Yeah, Estonians got through to the Challenge Cup final in the Northern Cricket Union and very important league win over Lisburn.
Ooh.
So a good weekend for Estonians. They'll play Warringstown in that final, so that's on August the 8th, so we'll be looking forward to that. 2 big sides in the NCU.
Just looking back over previous festivals, and yeah, Northwest Warriors tend to start the festival as well, don't they? Beat the Reds the first week, Northern Knights the second week. So they are a team to look out for on the first day.
Yeah, I think they won last week as well, did they? Yeah, they did. Yeah, so day 1, that's the Warriors. Day 1 after that. Anybody knows of any reasons why it tails off? That's very similar to one we saw earlier, except this one goes the distance. Camphor was able to get under the ball earlier, but gets enough on that. Kate Carmichael carries all the way.
Yeah, real muscle here from Kate Carmichael. Had to really bring the bottom hand through because that was leaving him. It was just too full from Ryan Macbeth. He'll be a little bit frustrated that he's pitched it up quite so much first delivery of his third over. Gets it right this time. I think something that we've noticed about Graham Hume is like first ball of his over. It's always he's focused in. He's always putting it where he means to. That doesn't mean he never goes for runs off the first ball, but it's generally through innovation from the batter, a risk, maybe an edge, something like that, but never just sneaks in the long half volley first up and then has to fight back the over. Well dug out and good awareness.
Just as well. That was a good ball from Macbeth, right up in the block hole. That one he's got full enough to make sure Carmichael can't get underneath it. Yeah, but it's all about those little things in T20 cricket, isn't it? The first ball got to be on it, otherwise you're, as a bowler, always catching up in the over. That brings its own pressure then, so you try and bowl the magic ball in. It goes for 4 and then it just spirals away.
There's a good Yorker. He seems to be able to bowl that at will, doesn't he? Ryan Macbeth, clever thinking from him as he looks to negotiate his way through his third and the 6th of the power play.
Well, it's an interesting thing for Ryan Macbeth to see him sort of in his 50 over game when he plays in a 1-day game for the club and IP20. He does bowl quite a lot of overs up top. We usually see 2 and that's it, but he will bowl usually 3. So sometimes he maybe just goes to death even in his 3rd over in a T20. He'll be disappointed with that though. Down leg side and gives Morgan Topping a little bit of a freebie to get his first boundary.
Well, it's the magic ball he's looking to bowl. He called it earlier in the over, looking to go leg to off. Just raise ever so slightly onto the pads. And Morgan Topping pounces, gets in a good position and quick hands through the ball, makes sure it gets fine a fume in 45. And as you so often see, the 3rd over of the spell, maybe just getting lined up a little bit, a bit predictable.
Well, that's why I'm saying he looks to be going Yorker and trying to sort of bowl death at the end here of his spell. That's a good run, actually. So that does close out the power play. 12 coming from that 3rd Ryan Macbeth over. It'll be interesting to see. He gets another one. Doubtful, you would think, coming out of the power play. But the Warriors, I would say, be pretty happy with that. 2 wickets is the important thing. 44 on the board. But they've got rid of Ross Adair and Paul Stirling. Josh Wilson to bowl the 7th over, and Isabel Choice is taking a little break from commentary, and I'm delighted once again to have Dave Surra in with me. Dave, impressions of the first 6?
Yeah, it's been a fascinating contest, the Northern Derby, as you've dubbed it. I suppose we expected something maybe slightly more explosive from the Knights after that last game. So yeah, it's been a handy enough start from the Warriors. Some good work in the field.
Yeah. And again, another bowler coming on to back up what has been gone before in the first 6 overs. David O'Sullivan, we mentioned him in the 5th over. He took the wicket of Sterling, so can Josh Wilson continue the good work here? Balberry in the covers. Was it Jake Egan? Sorry. Feels that.
It's our second game now in the festival, so it's interesting to see how these kind of conditions are coming into play. Having been around the country, having been in Breedy. You mentioned Miller missing out. The leg spinners perhaps not doing as well as they would have hoped in the earlier game.
Yeah, it's an interesting call that, because he's top wicket taker for the Warriors in this tournament. Down the wicket, slightly uppish. Melly will be in business again. It's just the field this time though. Prevent the 2.
He bowled extremely well, I thought, Miller, in Breedy. Very accurate and does a job for his captain when required.
Yeah, it's an interesting call, and as I say, we think he might have been penciled into the team earlier on, and maybe just that first game, as coaches will always be looking at it and seeing what works, what doesn't. Bowled from Wilson again. Needs to be a ploy here. These last couple of overs from the Warriors to go really full.
Yeah, that's interesting to see. They've had a look at the pitch. They've obviously had a look at the conditions. And that's now a definite ploy they're looking at. It'd be interesting to see how they use, well, how he uses himself, Andy McBrine. Obviously a very canny operator, can bowl in any sort of conditions really.
It's just not happening for Morgan Topping, but he's going to get away with that. Well, that's incredible. You can throw that up in the air. You would have thought that one of those 4 or 5 Warriors would be able to get under it. Yeah. Mistimed again from Morgan Topping.
Just thought maybe it held up as well. That breeze maybe, just a very light breeze, but could have given it a bit of extra time for a fielder to get in, but not to be for the Warriors.
Well bowled from Wilson. These two are usually quite quick between the wickets. Yeah, just looking at the whole tournament, you know, we've gone through 4 weeks now, and I keep referencing the fact that I feel it's really worked in, that you can see a progression or a regression. I'm just looking at Morgan Topping. He played really well at Cork in the first week. Even that first game against the Lightning, hit the Lightning all around the park, looked really good. But these last 3 tournaments, I just get the feeling that he's trying a little bit too hard now. Just let his natural ability come through. He's just trying a little bit too hard now. You get into a slight downturn in form and you just try a little bit hard to get out of it. A couple of shots can change it, of course. You know, a couple of boundaries can get you right back in nick again, but he just looks like he's trying to push it a little bit.
Oh, here we go. Oh, not to beat. Almost buzzers there. Just a little bit of untidiness there from the Warriors. Yeah, you feel maybe in the T20 format there's kind of opportunities where something can just happen so quickly, just kind of natural reaction almost. That partnership between Ross Adair and Paul Sterling and Breedy, that seemed kind of almost very, not too much thinking maybe required.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with it. You know, just let your natural instincts kick in a wee bit. Play each ball on its merits.
Here we go.
Yep, that's the man you mentioned.
Captain into the attack. Man who so often is on top of the batter straight away, especially in that first over. He's really dominated really in the competition, done very well.
Yeah, just look for him to, if he is bowling dots and singles, to try and run through his over really quickly. Immediately sees Topping trying to go leg side and follows him, tucks him up, dot ball, back to his mark, ready to go. See him again.
Just that run up as well. It doesn't even give us much of an opportunity.
Not really. Not really. Imagine you're the batter.
What is it? Must be 3 paces or something. 3 or 4. Just mistimes it. Let the fielder get to it. It's well taken in the deep. Just thought maybe he'd gotten the gap. Maybe get away with it, but not on this occasion. We saw one in the previous over get away from the Warriors, but not to be taking that chance. We'll have a look back at it.
Oh, that's Andy McBrine. Right down to a tee there. 2 dot balls, rushing the batter. Tries a little bit of innovation. Just because those 2 dot balls possibly. Morgan Topping doesn't time that at all. He's just following him a little bit. It's a good pocket out in there. Give plenty of time for Jake Egan to get under it. He's a safe pair of hands. 3rd wicket down for the Northern Knights. Just 49 on the board. Morgan Topping, he goes for 9. Caught Egan, pulled McBrine. So again, the Knights just losing wickets. We've talked about their depth in their batting. A little bit less today with Rian Pretorius missing out. Not in the side today, replaced by Adam Kennedy. So that will reduce that batting line up a little bit.
Yeah, we'll have to see. He's been very handy. Played a very handy innings in Stormont when required. 40 odd coming in later on.
Neil Rock, captain. Northern Knights out in the middle now. Short of a few runs as well. Again, we know exactly what he can do. Can be very destructive. Seen it in this ground before. Quicker ball. Good shot from Rock. Should be back for 2 it is. Just use the pace there of McBrine's quicker ball.
Yeah, there were flashes of touch from Neil Rock there and Breedy. Scamper through.
That's the McBrine over you were talking about, Dave.
Yeah.
Quick through the over. I thought a few dot balls would be nice, but he's also picked up a wicket. So just the 3 runs and a wicket from his first over. You do get the feeling that his 4 will be really crucial in what the Knights can set here. They're definitely on the back foot. The run rate just 6.5 in the first 8. Not really what we're used to with them.
It's also the conditions as well, and maybe other spinners just missing out, but just doesn't seem to affect McBrine. He's got so many changes, just has such a good read of the batter.
Oh, I'll not be pleased with that. Josh Wilson. It's going to be 2. Neil Rock will be keen to get back down there. You see a little bit of frustration. McBrine there, Josh Wilson just overstepping. Off that first ball, we've talked long and hard about first ball of an over. How you want to get a dot, single. Batters obviously want to get a boundary off the first ball just to set it up. Here we've got a 2, but also a no ball.
Yeah, it feels somewhat easy for the bowler in the end, giving it away slightly. into the gap. Pretty covered by the fielder.
Yeah, Jiggins done well down there just to keep that down to 1. Just don't want to give any batter, but particularly Neil Rock, a sider. Let him hit one out of the park and it'll just let him feel in. Don't want to give any free hits there, so definitely don't want to do that again.
Keep that foot well and truly behind the line.
Most definitely. Ball from Wilson. Mistimed, forces the mistime from Carmichael.
Just tied up by Melly out in the deep. Melly and Egan, the two fielders out there in the offside. A lot of ground to cover. I got third back, of course, as well. Well, the left-hander now. And of course, all changes.
Chance.
Ooh.
Oh, it's gone down. Did well to get there to it. Dave O'Sullivan, and I'm just hoping that he hasn't done that hand again. A couple of weeks back, tried to take a return catch and split the webbing in his hand. Trying to keep an eye on him as we speak here.
Just guides
the
it.
game. Yeah, he got there.
I saw a great catch earlier from Reuben Wilson. Would have almost been the same diving forward. That's what you want to see from your quick bowler. We'll keep an eye on that hand though, of O'Sullivan.
Balls from Wilson again. Yeah, he's just talking with Boyd Rankin as we speak. Looks like he's going to stay on. O'Sullivan does look to be the right hand.
You'd feel he's really unlucky if it's the same hand.
Yeah. Isabel said on commentary when it happened, it is one of those injuries that if you do get anything near ball near it again, it can very easily reopen.
Pulled
In
away.
the gap, that's going to go. Yep, in that little pocket. That's a nice shot from Carmichael. Yep, Josh Wilson wants his hat, please, because he wants to get out of the over, but he's forgotten the no ball at the start of it. Yeah, he's only given up the 4 there. Just skips away off this very hard surface. And then he asked Johnny Kennedy, can I have my hat, please? And Johnny said, no, one more, son. Good comeback, good finish to the over. Just a single. So 63 for 3, the Northern Knights from 9.
Johnny Kennedy. That's Wilson finished the over there.
Finally.
Yeah, he'll walk away now and think about it. Hopefully not think about it too much. Move on quickly. Won't have too much time to think about it actually, because Andy McBrine's going to fly through this second over, unless there's a wicket or two, which would give the fielders a bit of time in between.
Yeah, just trying to keep an eye on David O'Sullivan here. Chatting to somebody, has gone off. Yeah. Has gone off to have that looked at again. Robbie Miller is on. So, just hope he hasn't damaged that again, because he did miss a game or 2 because of that. Back to the cricket, McBrine. Ball to Carmichael. Good stuff from Egan off the boundary there.
Flying in. Yeah, it'd be very unfortunate for O'Sullivan. It just kind of seemed to affect the balance for the Warriors in Stormont when that injury first happened. And of course, then we had that remarkable Munster Reds win, the final over.
And Neil Rock has gone. Andy McBrine has done it again. Brilliant stuff from the off spinner. A little bit of a wry smile towards his opposite captain, Neil Rock, trying to hit that one over to the pavilion. Doesn't make contact, and as per usual, Andy McBrine on the mark.
Yeah, this is what we've come to expect from Andy McBrine. One so often brings two. At the moment, swings through, doesn't make contact, just slightly quicker, just changes from McBrine. Little break in the over because he was flying through it.
Yeah, he kind of looks at old Andy McBrine as if he almost expects to do that. You know, just, yeah, no problem. But it's such a difficult job in T20 as an off spinner. You know, just the difference of people going down, sweeping you, hitting you down the ground. He just doesn't seem to worry about anything. He just, I've got my job to do. I'm going to stick to it. I think even if that had disappeared into the pavilion, he'd have come back next ball, gone again. Just treats every ball as an event. Got Ben Kletz out there now.
You'd back him regardless, even if he had disappeared over the fence.
Right on the money again. It's good running actually from Kletz. It's a little bit of strife here at the minute. Need a partnership between these two. Take it a little bit deeper.
Yeah, it's been tough going throughout the competition. We obviously had that infamous start now between Ross Adair and Paul Sterling. The tale seems to be of losing wickets too often throughout the competition.
Yeah, very much so. Definitely echo that. You take out that one game there, really. The losses they've had have pretty much been bowled out rather than sort of losing by runs. They're getting bowled out quite a lot in this tournament, which really in T20 cricket shouldn't be the norm. Occasionally you're going to get a day because of the nature of it, but it shouldn't really be the norm. There's too many wickets.
Sprints Andy McBrine. McBrine in full flight, tidying that up. Another very tidy over the wicket. Not many. Always does a job.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. 10 gone, so halfway. Just 68 on the board. The Northern Knights. And even worse news, 4 wickets back in the pavilion. So great start for the Warriors.
Looks like we have another change. Spin from both ends potentially. Yeah, looks like we've Scott Macbeth. So we mentioned that, not much in the surface perhaps for the spinner. Of course, plenty of changes, of course. You can be impactful in the shorter form of the game, in the shortest form of the game. Let's see how Macbeth goes.
First ball played, missed by Carmichael. Handy little off spinner Macbeth, often picks up wickets.
They're playing a miss, just drifting away slightly. Not much purchase off the wicket though.
No, there hasn't been much turn for the spinners.
Carmichael's obviously playing for, so just kind of readjusting slightly. the second.
He's back. I think he's back. Dave has saved Kletz there. And then McBrine doesn't think so. This will be a real interesting one to watch. Little stumble there from Kletz. He sets off now. Switches hands. Ooh.
Maybe almost just about in the air, but no, it looked like he had made his ground.
That was tight. A little stumble on the first run.
Yeah, that was it. You felt that they just went for it. It could have been a bit more comfortable, of course. Down the ground. Miller, long off. On for a Sullivan.
Coming around the wicket now. To the left-hander.
Let's keep an eye on that line, and obviously not much turn, but it's drifting it away slightly from the right-handers.
Yep, good stuff from Scott McBeth. Just arrowing that in towards leg stump. No width for Kletz. Can I get it over? You know, crucial last ball here.
This is it.
Right across his stumps. Targets our favourite area towards the pavilion. Does go for that boundary. Still a good over from Scott McBeth though. Carmichael gets the better of him last ball.
Yeah, just targets that last ball. Good choice in the end. Moving across, keeps the head still. Gets it up and over.
Well, Dave, not sure whether you've been tuning in over the past 3 to 4 weeks, but I'm sure there are plenty out there following my race to 50. So it's the race to 50 wickets in the IP20. And Andy McBrine now has 49. He's the top wicket taker
Here we go.
of all time in the IP20 trophy. He needs one. That'll not be it. That's gone into the field.
You teed him up nicely there.
Yeah, he needs one to get to 50. And Isabel's coming because she knows
She's
Andy
ready.
McBrine could get 50 wickets here.
She's ready for the call.
That one's deposited though. Ben Kletz all over that one. Thrown up on the off stump this time.
Just moved away. A little bit of cat and mouse. Brian's just so good at watching the batter right till the end. Just watches that movement, and his accuracy is brilliant. A little bit slower.
There'll be two this time. Just take the one.
Egan and Melly out there. A lot of ground to cover. Bit quicker there from McBrine. Slow run before. This time just a bit quicker, darting it through.
Good angle taken from Egan. And the cover's there.
Slower again.
He's mixing it up here. For sure.
Yeah, it's
Ball
great,
left here.
great to see this work here from McBrine.
Carmichael maybe just trying to get him to slow down a little bit. Takes the gloves off. Has a little think. Last ball of the over. Yeah, good stuff after that. First ball was hit for 6. 4 singles to finish it out. McBrine 2 for 18 from 3 after 12 overs. Northern Knights, well, inching over 7 now and over 86 for 4. So I saw you jogging back over there, Isabel. Did you know that McBrine's on 49 wickets now?
You're giving me too much credit, Ali.
I knew you were jogging over to get back for that over.
No, I just thought I must stop taking a break when Andy McBrine's on, because
He's done it again.
It doesn't give you much of a break, unfortunately.
He doesn't. No, he doesn't. He's quick, and the spinner with Scott Macbeth joining him at this end.
It was kind of like when there was a period of time Andy McBrine and Simi Singh used to bat ball in tandem outside the power play and one-day internationals. I'd always do the first 10 overs and it'd take like an hour and 10 minutes for the first 10. Then I'm off for the next 10, and before you know it, you're back on.
Back on again. Yeah, we have to innovate a new thing, a time scale,
Yeah.
not overs. I'm off for the next half hour.
Yeah, they try that and it's
It doesn't
very
work.
messy
It
now.
doesn't
yeah.
work.
It doesn't work.
It just doesn't work.
No, swings and roundabouts. I think you just try and make sure that you're not doing the same thing in both innings. But look, why even have breaks, Ali?
That's
you know?
correct. We have not had a break. That's correct. What's the point of breaks?
As I come back from a break.
Everybody in the country says that. She's just back from a break. That's in the air.
That's not very assured from Ben Kletz.
Yeah, but just on the cricket itself, you watch McBrine again doing his thing. You know, we were talking about he's going to come on here, try and bowl a few dot balls. If he can pick up a wicket, it's a bonus, but he'll rattle through 2-3 overs pretty quickly, as you've referenced.
Yeah, they seem to have found a good rhythm, Northwest Warriors, as particularly bowling first. I think that's clear to see. Graham Hume starting things off and generally doesn't go for too many runs and started taking wickets in the power play. Scott Macbeth seems to
That's a good shot.
be more comfortable, although that's too full, much too full to the left-handed Ben Kletz, disdainfully deposited for 4. Andy McBrine didn't even move an extra cover, showing his strength there. Man in the deep had no chance. Don't even try and cut that off. I think it's Andy Balburney there, showing his experience by just jogging to get that.
Yeah, just broke the wrists on that at the point of contact, which got it past extra cover into the gap. Really got a target on a boundary every over here now. I think the Knights at least one. Not much leeway really. 4 wickets down, just for now.
I think Kate Carmichael, 41 from 34 now. He's probably got to look to see, can he produce one of those innings where he suddenly gets the strike rate up to 150, 160. 13 gone, 95 for 4.
Yep. We saw 159 from the Munster Reds earlier. Not really in the ballpark. Okay, it's up against a team that's bang on form in the Leinster Lightning.
I was just thinking of the innings that we saw earlier from, like, you know, from the Leinster Lightning. Christopher Freda, 66 from 40. Even Tim Tector, 27 from 20. All the batters, you know, maybe not getting off to absolute flyers, but they tend to later on catch up. A flurry of boundaries, a 6 followed by a 4, that kind of rhythm.
Yeah, they're all sort of coming in at 150 towards the 140, 150 towards the end of their innings. It's only really Harry Tector that was happy to go out and run a ball while the other guys were going.
Yeah, you don't need everyone to do it.
Everybody's, and then Lorcan Tucker comes in and goes at 300 and it's done and dusted.
Yeah, they've got that down to a T, haven't they? Coming in hot and over 15 and 16. Forget about overs 19, 20. David O'Sullivan.
Good to see him back again, because I don't know where you saw it.
He did,
damaged his hand again.
But so did he damage it, or were we just worried he damaged it?
We were worried. We were worried because he
stayed on. Confirmation.
He stayed on the park, but then went off for a little bit, and just a bit of, given the injury he had, as we mentioned, he split the hand before, so
Yeah, do you know what? I was watching as the ball made its way down to him, and he was a split second late committing to the catch. And sometimes it's an injury like that can actually give you pause and make you not go for it. And then he had to go for it in the end. As Cade Carmichael gives himself room. That's a shot of real class from Cade Carmichael. Stands tall, stays in the shot, punches it through the offside. A lovely looking boundary.
yeah, brings up the 100, and I think that's the best shot we've seen in this night's innings so far. Gives himself a little bit of room, but yeah, really nice punch through the offside. It's a round of applause from the girls there, just behind the fence. Really nice shot from Carmichael.
He's really increased things, hasn't he? Just a couple of boundaries, couple of twos. Josh Wilson will keep that to 1. What did you make of that that run out that Northwest Warriors were celebrating?
Well, we saw the replay.
Oh yeah,
We did see the replay.
And how did it look?
It was tight.
Was it?
Kletz had a little stumble as he went down to turn. You know, he sort of, his feet were moving quicker than his body, and he had a little stumble, and then came back, changed his hands. And it was one of those ones where he sort of got the bat down, and it kind of bounced.
yeah.
And just to see whether he was actually over the line with the bat as it bounced, but it was pretty tight.
Inside the line, turns on that one and lifts it too short. The line wrong is when, well, Ben Kletz again showing his strength, and sometimes it's just one person who needs to be going great guns, but both Carmichael and Kletz now putting the foot on the accelerator.
No, that's not the ball. The ball to Ben Kletz, and it's not the ball to most people, but certainly not Ben Kletz. That's right in his hitting arc. He'll swivel really nicely on that, and seems to really get a lot of distance in that particular shot. Seen that a few times in this tournament.
Well, interesting that Cade Carmichael gave himself room to the leg side earlier in the over. Now Ben Kletz just shifting to the offside for this one. Have a look at his feet. Yeah, perfect hip height for him. Everyone has their more comfortable swinging arc. That seems to be one of a few, to be fair. It's not the only area that he enjoys.
Well, I would say if you were to have one of those things where you say, "What's your favourite? What's your favourite colour? What's your favourite position for the ball?" I would say right there, please, right on his hip.
And that one's even
Well, actually,
further.
he might change that, because that's not too bad either.
There's
That's
absolute
a biggie.
crack off the bat there. David O'Sullivan back into the attack, and it's back-to-back sixes. Incredible striking from Ben Kletz, who's taken a liking to him.
Well, that's just sat up. He has absolutely got the middle of the bat on that one. And a blink of an eye, really. 50 partnership up.
Well, 27 balls.
I would say most of that's come in the last 6 or 7. Really, these two have got going, as you say. Carmichael with a couple of boundaries have just picked his up, and now Kletz with 2 sixes back to back. What's the option now for O'Sullivan? Got to get away from that area for sure. Go wide. Side off. Well, he tries.
Yep.
Gets away with it. Really. That was more, I think. He was just trying to get out of the way of that almost. It was flying at him. Managed to stop it though. Graham Hume, actually.
Graham Hume, but look at this comeback from the Northern Knights. Both openers gone pretty early. Rossiter just 1. Paul Sterling 16. He looked good before a good plan got rid of him. Carmichael, he's stood tall, and Topping and Rockwell, they've gone in quick succession, but Ben Kletz now getting into his work, 31 from just 14 deliveries, and the Northern Knights will be hoping that he'll be able to stay there with Kate Carmichael for a long while yet.
Yeah, these two have sort of got the innings up and running again, while stalling a little bit. There's a couple of wickets. McBrine had done his stuff in the middle overs. Just that little assault has maybe meant that he's got to come back here. 15th over.
Yeah, and finally it seems to be just warming up here in Pembroke. It's supposed to be above 20 degrees here today. Don't think it has been, as he hasn't picked out the fielder for a second there. I thought he'd find Cameron Melly in the deep, but no, manages to get it square and send it all the way for 6. Ben Kletz. Carmichael looked like he was closing in on 50, but I wonder will Kletz get there quicker.
Yeah, he certainly got going. 3 sixes. Very quick time for Kletz. He's moved on to 38 off just 16. That run rate was 6.5 for the majority of this innings. All of a sudden it's now 8.5.
Clever bowling from McBrine, just takes all the pace off it. I think maybe for the leg spinners that we saw earlier, that Ben White and Gavin Howie not willing to bowl slowly through the air, not willing to change things up. McBrine, the wily character, will. I'll come back for a second here. Good running from Kate Carmichael. And it's 50 up for the Northern Knights, number 3. 50 from 39 deliveries. He came in when wickets were tumbling, 5 fours, 1 6, and as always, worked the ball around, run well, and come out with a nice game plan, compact. Able to go up and down the gears when he needs to.
Yeah, he came in as the top run scorer for the Northern Knights before this game. He's obviously continued with that.
I was going to say, surely he's still there.
Yeah, well, he's the only one that got 50 so far, so I think he's still there. Yep. 51 off 40. Has been sort of the guy they can rely on in this tournament, really.
Big shout from Andy McBrine, looking for his 50th wicket in the competition. Johnny Kennedy moving off to the side fairly sharpish to put an end to any thoughts of that milestone being reached today. McBrine finishes his 4-over spell. 2 for 28 for him. Kate Carmichael 50. Have a look at all those yellow lines.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that. There they are. One's yellow lines and white lines. So he's worked the ball around. His dot ball percentage pretty low. Some boundaries around the ground as well. That 1-6 down the ground.
Yeah. Sort of square for the fours, and then he's worked it into the gaps inside the ring for 1s and 2s, and then the one maximum he's hit was straight down the ground. 51 off 40. As you say, these last 5, you can just kick that up into the 130, 140 strike rate, while Kletz is going at the other end. Then this innings could yet to prove above par for the Knights yet. As I say, they were struggling along at 6.5 really for the majority of it, but these two have definitely picked it up.
Yeah, nearly 8.5 and over, and yeah, an over of 20 will do that for you. They got 20 in the 14th, 11 in the 15th.
Josh Wilson take the one as the man is back on the ring. Graham Hume.
A good plan, that, I think, from Josh Wilson to the left-handed Kaletz's full outside off. Don't give him the arms to smack you wide of long on, or the length to go over the leg side.
Quick chat from his most experienced bowler, Hume, and Captain McBrine, to young Josh Wilson.
Gives himself room again, Cade Carmichael. Goes up the block hole, Josh Wilson doesn't miss by much, but Carmichael, he recognised the plan, saw the gap, and over mid-off for 4.
Yeah, really nice shot. Good gamble there, if it is a gamble. He's just deciding to go a little bit leg side and sees mid-off up. And gets enough weight through the shot, just shy of the boundary.
Yeah, better length for Carmichael there, you feel, for Josh Wilson. And I think that's one of the difficulties for him as a young bowler. It's, you know, you've got a good plan for one batter, and then just because you're not bowling to Ben Kletz doesn't mean you don't need to really focus on what you think will work against Cade Carmichael, because he's the man on 56 from 42 now. So even though he doesn't maybe have the ball striking, the really devastating ball striking ability that Ben Kletz does, he's, you know, probably more of a working cricketer. So he's generally got a plan to counteract what you're doing. Good execution once more.
Yeah, I was sort of intimating when Hume and McBrine were possibly having a chat after the single. They'll maybe do the same thing again here now. To the top of your screen there. Graham Hume's got the ball in hand. I'll leave him his own devices this time. Let me just say, do what I've told you a couple of balls ago.
Yeah, good again. Well done from Carmichael. Oh, not what you want in the deep misfield. Hands a boundary to Cade Carmichael, and never what you want as a bowler. You execute exactly how you wanted to, and then the fielder doesn't back you up. Scott Macbeth just sliding past one there, and it's another boundary in the over. Really unjust for the bowler.
Yeah, he's done really well there. Got it right under the feet there, really. Just overran that, I think, a little bit. Scott Macbeth.
It got down too late. If you're on the side, you need to slide a little bit earlier, but I'm not sure he needed to slide at all. Probably maybe an army roll. But you get the ball in the hands first, then do the tumble. Yeah, good guess from Josh Wilson. Expected Carmichael to go leg side, keeps it outside off, and finishes with a dot. And over that went for 11. Really should have been more like 8. But Northern Knights continuing on their merry way, 137 for 4, and you'd think they'd be looking for more than 10 and over in the next 4 the way these two are going, so they'll be hoping to get above 180, and I think they'll fancy their chances if they manage to do that.
Yeah, definitely wanting to hear. We've talked about it in the earlier game, and we're even seeing it here, that you can be quite down on your run rate early, can catch up really quickly at Pembroke. You get a couple of batters in, say that at most grounds of course, but particularly here it's a quick scoring ground towards the end of an innings.
Yeah, in particular because we've seen swing today, so the first 6 overs you've got that to negotiate. You're expecting to lose a few wickets. Wickets means a stall in the run scoring. Graham Hume back into the attack to bowl his third. Starts with the full and wide plan. He got punished, didn't he, against Liam McCarthy when he didn't stick to that plan, and that loss in Stormont a couple of weeks ago. So renewed focus maybe on keeping it full and wide to someone like Ben Kletz, not unlike Liam McCarthy in his scoring areas.
Yeah, this will be quite strange for the Warriors here. 4 overs to go, and they'll probably want to bowl at the guy on 60.
Yeah.
Let's bowl at Carmichael for a while. Try and keep Kletz away from it. 41 off 20.
Well, they'd even prefer to take a wicket, and Scott Macbeth, after misfield last over, makes no mistake here. Kate Carmichael looking to score a boundary, can't do it. Graham Hume, as always, right on his length. He gets the most set batter out. Kate Carmichael, who's helped rebuild things after a shaky start for the Northern Knights. He goes for 60 from 45, and he sees his team well set.
Yep, just not getting the contact he needed there. Shot was probably on for Carmichael to go over Macbeth at mid-off. Just doesn't get the contact he wants up in the air. A good innings from Carmichael. 60 again. He's been that constant for the Northern Knights throughout these 4 weeks.
7-4 is 1-6, and I think one of the things that's noticeable is it's one of the top 4. He's one of the top 4 for Munster Reds. We talked about the 2 younger guys who maybe haven't been quite as consistent, but they've been at 4 and 5. You want someone in your top 3 firing in every single game. For Leinster Lightning for the last couple of weeks anyway, it's been pretty much the top 3. Yeah.
All of them.
But for Northern Knights, it's been Carmichael, as Tom Mays gets off the mark straight away. And at least for the bowlers now, for the Northwest Warriors, it's 2 tall men that you're dealing with, so you don't have to change your plans quite as much.
And that wicket does just change a little bit of Kaletz's mentality then. He knows if he gets out now, it's 2 new set batters again. Whereas with Carmichael there, he could always think, well, I can go after every single ball here. If I get out, still a guy in.
I think he'll still go after
probably
every
won't
ball.
change, but
I don't think he's going to change. Great execution, really good from Graham Hume. He had been bowling full and wide outside off, and maybe Kletz setting up for that delivery. Hume tries to sneak one through at the stumps, and it was almost perfect. 2 wickets in the over would be absolutely perfect for the Northwest Warriors. The game on a knife edge, or the innings, I should say.
almost.
Yeah, almost 2 catches in the over for Scott Macbeth.
Yeah, top stuff really. Graham Hume here. Going to that death ball, and we saw him in Ireland colours do that against South Africa. He wasn't expected maybe to bowl to death, but they went to him, and very useful at that crucial win we got against South Africa. Bowled late on.
A full toss down the ground. That was close from Graham Hume. Nearly got the run out at the non-striker's end. That would have been a sneaky little one for a second wicket in the over, but it's a good one anyway. 4 singles and the catch in it. Let's have a look. How close is this? Where's Ben Kletz? Is nowhere.
Absolutely nowhere. Just giving up there. If that ricochets back onto your stumps.
Love to see, just from a neutral point of view, love to see Tom Mays go off here. We haven't really seen him in boundary hitting.
He was banging form earlier in the season.
Yeah, he just hasn't
Wolves,
necessarily had the
too many
opportunity.
hits. Yeah,
yeah.
He came back from that Wolves tour where he played well in the 4-day game as well with Carmichael.
Very entertaining to watch in that. But it's set up for him. It's just about whether he now takes the opportunity.
This is always the worry. Ryan Macbeth got the skills up at the top, swings about. Can he do it at the death here?
That's a pretty good start.
Yep.
I think the one thing about bowling at 2 tall guys, if you aim at their feet, they're not quite as nimble on the toes as, say, a Kate Carmichael.
Just checking with the umpire there. I seen his arm out, yeah. He's actually not a great ball in the end. Very good execution of the actual delivery, but
apart from the old foot over the
foot
line.
Over the line, unfortunately. And they've also taken the single.
Yeah, so it means the set batter, Ben Kletz on strike, 42 from 22 for him, free hit. And, oh, we've got a little friend here, just need that pigeon to give us our view back. Well, it's a good catch, but watch out, Tom Mays, you can get run out of a free hit. Now, if you're watching at home, and you're wondering what should you do when there's a free hit, first thing, just double check with your partner that they remember you can be run out of a free hit, because it's the absolute worst outcome. If something like that happens, Jake Egan caught the ball nicely and almost affected the run out. That would have been very disappointing for Tom Mays.
Yeah, I'm not sure there'd be worse in cricket. You can get one at the end of getting run out off deflection of the bowler, but I think that'd be worse. As he picked the gap, he has. In terms of being caught, Carmichael get round to field, but just over the top of Egan at extra cover. And he comes round.
And we were talking about Scott Irvine, the analyst next door, and there might be a few clips being put together for Ben Kletz saying, look, when they bowl it in this area, we need to work on how you're going to counteract that plan. Maybe it's shifting across the offside and looking to hit straight. Maybe it's exactly that. Not quite.
Well, I tried.
I think he's toe-ended that, has he?
Well, that's one of those ones, if you're looking for the ball based on the shot, you would never have found it, because how he got that to that area, he was looking first of all to ramp it leg side, then offside, and ended up Q-ending it to around about the cover region. Ends up after all that, just a single.
So the Northwest Warriors, since getting rid of Cade Carmichael, have really slowed things down. Tom Mays on strike, backs away and lifts it high, but not far, as Scott Macbeth comes round for another catch. Slid at the right time on this occasion. Sounded good, but connection not good for Tom Mays. He's in and out quickly, and the Northwest Warriors are doing exactly what they need to do to just keep a grip on this Northern Knights innings, taking wickets. Mays goes for 3 from 4, 146 for 6.
Just hanging in there at the moment, and as you say, just picking up wickets. Since they got rid of Carmichael, now they've got Mays as well. Too many boundaries coming. A good catch this time from Macbeth. Gets there quickly and gets his hands out in front. Gets the catch for his brother. So, Sean Davey out to the middle now. As we mentioned, Pretorius not in this lineup today. Probably would have been coming in before Mays there, so you'd have dropped Mays down to here. That extra little bit of batting.
Well, you were wondering about the return of Macbeth at this time, whether it would work out, and looks, apart from a little bit of overstepping, looks like it's...
He's doing okay.
It's going well, yeah. Third over in the power play was a bit expensive, but this one looking good. Good pickup from O'Sullivan. Sean Davey off the mark with a streaky single. So very good over there.
Yeah, that's what you need. You need your fielders to back you up there, just to make sure they get their hands on that ball. Don't let it go through for a boundary, because if you'd have missed that, it was going for 4. Just make sure. Just need the same thing again now for the last ball. Just want to get out of it. Maybe a single at worst. Kletz on strike now. Oh, but that's gone. That's gone. Kletz will go to 50. We just talked about it. It's in his slot there. Takes him to his half century. He's been the kickstarter of this night's innings. Carmichael's played well, but it's been Kletz that's really taken that run rate up to something around about par.
Yeah, right in the area. He wants just not quite full enough, and you can see Macbeth knows exactly the mistake he's made. Very difficult to find players who can go at this rate. 51 from 26 for Ben Kletz. 1-4 and 5 sixes. That's the difference. Look at that strike rate, up around 200, and to keep it at that for a full 50 is quite something. So that is the end of Ryan Macbeth. That's 6, just making his figures look a little bit expensive, because at just above 9s, 1 for 37 in his spell. Hume has 1 left, so he'll bowl the penultimate, and then who's going to take the last? O'Sullivan, Wilson, Macbeth. I don't think it's going to be O'Sullivan with Ben Kletz in there.
Yeah, we saw what he did to O'Sullivan in his last over. So yeah, it's Josh Wilson, you would think. It might depend on this particular over if Graham Hume can do what he did in his last and get rid of set batter. Yeah, might change the thoughts, but first of all, it'll be Davey to face. He's going to try and hit it down the ground and then check out and just take the single, which might have been the best option either way.
Yeah, I think for him, have one thing, your boundary in your head, and if it's in the area that you know you can hit a 6, then fine, go for it. But if it's not, you just, rather than having a wild swing and it being a dot, you've just got to make sure you get off strike. So he understood the assignment. He carried out the second of the preferred outcomes. Andy McBrine having a little bit of a fight with the pigeons on the field. He's on pigeon watch.
Pigeon watch here. It's fantastic. The grass seed is down on the old wicket, and they're torturing Andy McBrine at the minute.
Well, that's torture for Graham Hume, looking for the Yorker. Ben Kletz helps himself. Definitely not what Graham Hume was hoping to do. Blasts it for another 6 to add to the collection.
Yep, just misses it there. Been looking for that one in at the toes, but just comes out of the top of the hand nearly there. And full toss and disappears.
I think he's looking for the wide Yorker, because he knows if he gets it, if he misses a little bit short on the wide Yorker, it's not as dangerous. But if he bowls straight for the toes with the Yorker and misses, it's going to be 6 every time. That's 6 nonetheless. I'll shift down the pitch. Graham Hume, he's very good at adjusting in his action. He sees Ben Kletz come down, and I think he digs it in a little bit. He knows Ben Kletz is trying to get the full delivery.
Just taking a little bit of time here. Graham Hume.
Yeah, sometimes when the batter seems to be in a bit of a rhythm, need to just move the field, try and get them out of their concentration. Kletz, I think he needs to put that shot to bed. For the moment anyway. Just stick with down the ground and leg side for now. 2 dots now for Graham Hume. Could come back from him. Showing a little bit of maturity after he missed. Still sticking to his plans.
Yeah, 2 dots. I'm just wondering, you're saying park it away. But is this the time to do it again? Because he won't be thinking you're going to do it. He's bound to be thinking there's no way he's going down the rampart again. I don't think he will.
It's not that I think it's a bad option. He's just not executing it well.
That's my point. Yeah, so he's not.
If you're not executing it, it doesn't matter.
It's not his shot.
Yeah, it rarely is for someone who's able to strike the ball like Ben Kletz can.
Yeah.
Don't tell AB de Villiers I said that, I guess. Shouldn't be so offended. 1 to come in this Hume over. 2 for 27. I would hope for his sake he doesn't do what Ryan Macbeth did, which is go for a 6 on the final one to ruin the figures a little bit. Sean Davey, it's a bit of a free hit for him. Goes over mid-off, just about gets enough, and it will kick on and evade Scott Macbeth. So the free hit coming off, as he knows he wants Ben Kletz on strike next over, gets the boundary.
Yeah, that's exactly what was required for the Knights. I want to keep Kletz on strike, but if you can pick up a boundary while you're at it, just watch this kick on there. Speeds away from Scott Macbeth. Just seems to get quicker as it goes. So one over to go. 165 for 6. It is going to be David O'Sullivan.
Interesting decision. And I think I have a feeling this is going to be another one of those times where we say, and that's why Andy McBrine is captain out there and you and I are in here, because he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Let's see. Who would you have picked?
Well, I'd have gone with Josh Wilson, just given what we've witnessed so far. I appreciate that O'Sullivan may be a little bit more experienced, but
well, you're not going to get experience by not bowling in these situations. So it's a case of, do you want to give a youngster that you think is the future of your team an opportunity? Do you really think David O'Sullivan has the skills to close out the innings? An interesting field, long off, kind of a straight cover and point both on the boundary. So it's wide Yorkers. And Ben Kletz, can't believe he's missed that. I think he's just looked to go too square. You know they're going to bowl on that channel outside off, so you've got to be thinking maybe sight screen rather. Yes, you can kind of play a pull shot, but can it be a straight pull shot?
Yeah, I think he'd be disappointed with that one. You could hear his exasperation. Top ball to start with, though.
It's in the deep, and another catch goes, and
he's got it.
He's got it. It's Scott Macbeth again. He's taken 3 catches in a row now.
I think he's taken 5 catches now, because he's caught that 3 times.
That's not how it works.
It should be. I'd be doing it all the time.
Jeez, I'd be
3 or 4 goes at that.
Shop.
Yeah, he's taking it anyway. But what a knock there from Kletz. 58 from just 32 with 6 sixes. He's taken his team up to 165. Maybe slightly below what they wanted, but from when he came in, he certainly picked up the momentum. Yeah,
good skills though from David O'Sullivan. We wondered, was he the right man for the job? On this evidence, yes. Scott Macbeth. Feet stopped working. Once the hands are having to catch the ball, the feet just stop working. So David O'Sullivan, the plan was very clear from the field that was set. Ben Kletz knew exactly what was coming, but the bowler just outdoing the batsman on that occasion. It's not an easy job. You got to keep it within the lines. And it'd be interesting to see how close that was to the wide line, actually. Humphreys out at number 9. Gets a short one to start. Just clip it leg side. I don't think they'll be able to come back for a second because he was on the back foot when he played that shot.
I think Sean Davey would have been fine, but Humphreys would have been coming back to the danger end. So yeah, just a 1 run off 3 deliveries. So good start to the over, but we've seen it unravel in the last few. Can they finish it off here? Try and keep the boundaries down and keep it below 170, maybe even.
Good short delivery, but no ball called, is it? Nope.
No.
1 for the over. This is a great final over from David O'Sullivan. Wicket, 1 run. And now the Northern Knights looking back, you just go, do you know what? We would have just taken 1 off each ball.
Yeah.
So easy to look back in hindsight and wish for a different outcome.
Yeah, nothing on that again. Nice piece of bowling again. And you're right. That's why he picks O'Sullivan. Plays club cricket with him as well, so probably sees him on a very regular basis, does Andy McBrine. He probably does this job for Donamana. So the old thing, go back to what you know. Irrespective of this last ball, it's been a good decision, but I'd like to close it out.
All the fielders out on the leg side.
Well, he goes inside it.
Picked that up beautifully,
Wow.
has Matt Humphreys. Full
Sprints
toss.
off.
Misses on one occasion, O'Sullivan, and he's punished as dearly as he can be. That is a sweet connection from Matt Humphreys to send that for 6, his first boundary on the final delivery of the innings.
Well, there's T20 cricket in a nutshell. 5 excellent deliveries from David O'Sullivan. Praised by his captain all round. Brilliant stuff, David. Last ball just misses his length. Deposited for 6, but as I say, still a good over in the end from O'Sullivan. And the Knights have scrambled their way up to 173 from 7. There is their card. Again, the top 2. Rossett there going early off Hume for just 1. Sterling looked to be a decent bit of nick, but he went for 16 caught. A nice little plan from O'Sullivan. And then Topping and Rock went pretty quickly in the middle order, but it was Carmichael and Kletz. Carmichael playing the sort of glue role with 60 off 45, but it was Kletz who really took up the mantle and got momentum into the game for the Knights. 58 from 32, and then just that little 6 at the end there from Humphreys.
Yeah, one standout partnership there, and no surprise between Carmichael and Kletz. 74 between the two of them. Kletz 41 from 20. Carmichael only slightly less, 32 from 22. And lots of little partnerships throughout, which, you know, they can be pleased that there weren't any really low ones apart from Kletz and Mays, and Kletz and Davy at the end. A handy 19 to add to the total.
The Warriors bowling line up again, up top. Graham Hume, very metronomic again. He ends with 2 for 31, but good to see Ram Macbeth come back there. First 2 overs, he swung the ball. Maybe his 3rd over in the power play was a little bit expensive, but came back well. He finished with 1 for 37. O'Sullivan with a good last over, 2 for 32. And then Josh Wilson and Macbeth, but the standout again, Andy McBrine, he takes 2 for 28.
So a pretty decent total, especially considering early wickets for the Northern Knights. They made 173 for 7. Can the Northwest Warriors keep their trend going and take a win on the first day of the festival? 174 for victory. Join us in about 10 minutes time to see, can they do it? You're very welcome back as the Knights look to defend a pretty decent total. 173 for 7 they made in their first innings. It's amazing how just 20 overs an innings can ebb and flow. Well, that's exactly what the Northern Knights innings did, and the Northwest Warriors, they will have hoped, I think, at one point, especially when they got the wickets in the middle, to keep it to below 150, but then enter Ben Kletz. And he was a big difference in that innings, coming in and joining Carmichael and adding a pretty big score to the total, and meaning that Carmichael didn't have to try and do it all on his own. Late wickets, though, from Northwest Warriors meant that it didn't quite get to as high as they would have wanted at one point as well. So both teams showing some fight. 58 for Kletz, just second in terms of the highest scores, because Kate Carmichael made 60. Between them, they made a good portion of the runs. And I think that Northern Knights will be quietly confident of defending it, but a lot comes down to this opening pair, Sam Topping and Andy Balbirnie, who maybe a little bit disappointing the last couple of weeks, haven't quite done it for the Northwest Warriors, but they'll be looking for on Andy Balbirnie's home turf to see can they chase down what's maybe slightly below par. I'm on Isabel Joyce, Ali McCalmont alongside me. Ali, where's your gut feel tell you?
Gut feel, I think both sides will be happy enough, really, to be honest with you. You said at the start, 173 for the Warriors, they might have taken that. Certainly halfway through. Oh, straight away, Humphreys on the mark. At halfway through, 68 for 4. Definitely think the Knights would have taken 173, 105 in the last 10. But I think you've pretty much nailed it from the evidence we've seen over the past 3 weeks. It's a crucial partnership for the Warriors. Topping had a quiet week last week, but has been good for the Warriors so far. That's a poor ball. Don't say that too often. Matthew Humphreys, certainly in the power play. Bit of a freebie there for Topping. First boundary.
Yeah, generally teams wanting to have a left-hander at the top against Matthew Humphreys, and that one just helped on its way with Sam Topping just not quite on the money. He generally knows exactly where he's putting it, Matthew Humphreys, but it was Sam Topping who knew where he wanted to put it on that occasion. Opening runs, opening boundary. Yeah, he did have a quiet week last week, didn't he? 22 and naught, but the 22 was a lot of luck actually went his way. It was 22 and 14. And I just wish that we could persuade him to stop going on the back foot for that quicker delivery. I know because it's quicker, you want to go back, but it comes through so quickly, you don't really have time to adjust.
Yeah, that's a really good point. When you see somebody bowl a little bit quicker, you do just generally give myself a little bit more time, and really, if you treat him as a seamer, you wouldn't be doing that to a seam bowler. Like around Macbeth was coming in, you'd be trying to get out on the front foot.
It reminds me of, it doesn't really happen in the men's game as much, but in the women's game, if you bowl full and wide, people always go on the back foot. It's not a cut. It's too full. You need to stop practicing that shot. Full and wide, let's come forward. Andy Balbirnie. The player's expecting that quicker ball. Now, you probably set up for the quick ball, don't you, from Matt Humphreys, especially in the first over.
I'm just about to say it. I hope we're not calling a pigeon casualty here.
No, well, it seems...
Because it seems inevitable likely. Here.
It seems about as likely as getting hit on the head by a spider in this tent. It's just constantly threatening.
They've just decamped to another wicket there because those last 2 deliveries plus the throw in from the fielder.
Change in field, long off goes back, cover up. Nicely picked out there from Andy Balbirnie. It was a little bit too short, not a lot of foot movement, but great movement to the leg side with the body from Andy Balbirnie and somehow threads the gap. An ever so small gap on the offside.
Yeah, can you get it through for 4, or will it just be straight to the fielder? Well,
those pigeons back to the original. They're back to their original spot, because that was just as dangerous there.
Yeah, so he managed to thread it, gets a boundary, so 9 off the first over. Tom Mays. And open the bowling for the Knights. It'll be interesting to see how they go about their bowling attack today. Remember Adam Kennedy in for his first game of the T20 trophy. Graham Pretorius not in the squad, so he'll be nervous in his first game. So Mays up top.
Rises nicely there. Sam tapping to get on top of the bounce, but couldn't quite get the arms through quickly, so it'll just be a single.
So what we've seen the first 3 innings of the day, you would have thought that this would suit Tom Mays.
Yep.
A little bit of shape. You can get that release from the hand and a little bit of seam movement as well.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if he gets as much, because it's still cloudy, but it seems to have changed a little bit now. It's a bit muggier. Might not get quite as much swing. And no swing really there. Missed out Andy Balbirnie. I think if you gave that to him again, you might see it sailing into the mid-wicket boundary. It's so familiar with these surrounds. Not familiar with wearing a green shirt while playing in Pembroke, and the pigeons, they're getting familiar with a few seeds.
They've been out there all day. They're well fed today. Comes at a risk though. That's a lovely shot backward. Well done, Morgan topping. Gets round. 2 more. A total 2 for Andy Balbirnie. Both on 6.
It doesn't matter what shirt he's wearing. If you see that shot being played, you know it's Andy Balbirnie. Nobody plays it the way that he does. Just transfers the weight onto the back foot, and there's barely any backlift. It's all in the wrists in the follow through. That's why he's so good at getting the direction on those shots off the back foot. Slip out now. There's that short ball we were talking about. Got a better connection with Cade Carmichael, as he always is, out on the boundary. Yeah, so Tom May's not getting that swing that we've seen from the other opening bowlers, which is interesting.
Yeah, we've seen it throughout the day, really. You know, we say maybe it was just a morning cloud cover, but Ryan Macbeth definitely swung it a little bit. Also for Graham Human, his first over for sure. Goes early. Sam topping.
He didn't have the skill that we saw from Lorcan Tucker earlier to be able to follow it around and swat it over the keeper's head.
Well, if you haven't seen that this morning, definitely pay a visit to it when it goes up on YouTube. Right at the end of the game. Of course, you're going to watch the whole game back again, of course, but if you really just want to catch that, it's the last ball.
A little shift to the offside and helps it round the corner. So a decent first over that from Tom Mays, just 5 from it after 2 Northwest Warriors, 14 without loss.
Yep, as you say, not much swing on offer from Mays, maybe a little bit surprising given what we've seen. Still reasonably accurately, and just a 5 from it. Humphries is just going to bowl 1 today. Has been known to bowl a couple at least. It's going to be 1 from him.
Yeah, I think it's a good decision because you know, you want more of his overs in the middle, to be honest. If the Northwest Warriors get away from you, he can bowl with 5 out and just go for 6 singles, probably try and squeeze out a couple of dots as well. So kind of in an Andy McBrine fashion, put the brakes on if the Northwest Warriors do get going. Sean Davey. Starts off with a change-up. Brave stuff. Usually you want to get a regular delivery out the way before you feel comfortable bowling your change-ups, but I suppose they have played a lot of cricket, Ali.
Yeah, straight into it, yeah. And again, faced each other. The NCU. Sean Davies playing his club at Civil Service North. Sam Toppings at Warringstown. That's in the air. Has he got enough of it? I think he has. Indeed he has. Gone all the way. Should have stuck to the change-ups, I think. That's gone.
Yeah, I think it might have been a
Might have
change-up.
been
I think
another
it was.
again, actually,
Rolled
seeing
the
it again.
fingers and lined up this time. 2 slower deliveries in a row was too many. Tom Mays, well, for a second we were wondering was it good enough connection, but once you see him looking over his head and then into the houses, oh, and what's that hit? Off the leg.
Back pad, or back thigh pad, I think.
That is seriously good keeping from Neil Rock, who's just taking a breath after that. Have a look at the keeper here for this.
Yeah, just watch his feet here. Quickly moves back. Just have a little kick off the right foot then. Really well done from Rock.
Yeah, Sam Topping a keeper himself, and he'd appreciate a good piece of work from a fellow keeper. Clipped off the legs. It's going to be at least 2, if not 4. Right into the corner. Oh dear, he's had to run too far, and I think that might be the first time I've seen a misfield from Cade Carmichael. Just got his feet mixed up, didn't get it down quickly enough, and that's a gift, a boundary for Sam Topping.
Yeah, not a great ball to start with. It's drifting down leg, but you're right. You should probably clip that one up, because that's the first time I've seen him. I've probably seen him a lot more than Isabel up in the Northern Union, and don't remember too many of those. Fumble, but
that's lifted into the air. Cade Carmichael underneath, and it's all he can do is watch it go into the hoarding. Just about had the legs to the long boundary out there, and what started out with a good piece of bowling with a slower ball is now turned into a very expensive over. 2 6s and a 4 in it.
Yeah, got on top of that. I thought he got plenty of it this time. The one that he hit off second ball, I wasn't sure, but that one I felt he'd made a good connection on it. So 6, a 4 and a 6. So
Round the wicket for Davey, looking to get out of the over. Yeah, it pretty much does it. And talking about coming back for a second, I don't think they will. Sam Topping maybe just toying with his brother there.
yeah,
Morgan Topping. So 17 from that over, and a welcome one for the Northwest Warriors. 31 without loss after 3. Just thinking about that misfield from Cade Carmichael. I bet you that later on he'll shudder every time he remembers.
absolutely. Knowing him as I do, definitely he'll really takes pride in his fielding. Well, as his batting, of course, that's his number 1, but his fielding is a big part of his game. He'll definitely look back on that and think, he'll probably forget the 60 that he scored. He'll just remember that. Some people are like that.
Well, in a few weeks from now, and that just intrudes into his mind of long forgotten the 60, and he'll never forget that misfield. But anyway, we'll forget about it for now. Tom Mays, second over. Topping gets the ramp shot out. He tried it last over, but works better this time. Gets the ball that he wanted from Tom Mays, the full one, and it's another 4. Sam Topping, 200 strike rate so far. Is going even better than that.
Yeah, gets on it this time. A little practice shot the last time. He's got it this time. Gain goes quite early. Doesn't really put any sort of momentum into the shot. Just let it come off the bat. Gets the angle of the bat so as it lifts over. Short third. That's a good call from Balburney, to be fair. He's going to the danger end. Realises it's wide of keeper and bowler.
I just got really confused there because I saw David O'Sullivan down at what would have been long stop, and I thought, have they put a fielder down there? It's the wrong team.
Yeah.
Oh, we've had too many games, I think.
It's definitely it's still this tent from this morning, because the players were in the pavilion this morning, and coming out of the pavilion they've moved over.
No, because it's because Leinster Lightning were over at the clubhouse, and that's where they usually stay, obviously, for their...
So they were coming from there, and now the two teams are over at the other side of the ground, and David O'Sullivan's just returning to the tent.
A little fish from Andy Balbirnie. We saw a bit of that this morning from Munster Reds in particular. It's a line and a length that you don't want to just hang the bat out at. No one will know that better than Andy Balbirnie. That ridge coming into play, just getting the ball to balloon a little bit from that good length.
Straighter line, defended.
Yeah, what that Sean Davey over does is it allows Andy Balbirnie and Sam Topping to respect the good balls. They're not trying to force anything. And then Tom Mays is someone who will settle on a length, though, so it'll be interesting to see, does he decide to come down at him, try and put him off his length. Boundary off the first ball of the over helps as well. Yeah, steps inside it, and almost like Paul Stirling just lifts it over and fine leg for 6. A bit of Caribbean flair from Andy Balbirnie.
Yeah, very similar to what we talked about. His old opening partner for Ireland steps inside it and just helps it on its way. Knowing exactly where the boundary is there. Just carries the whole way.
A great option for him, and again, that consistency from Tom Mays maybe his downfall there, because Andy Balbirnie knew exactly where the ball was going to be. He knew Tom Mays would stick on that line and length, and he knew where he could put it. Well directed from Andy Balbirnie. There'll be work to do for Morgan Topping in the deep, as well as that one bobbles a little bit and keeps it to 2. The last 2 balls in the over. Fruitful for the Northwest Warriors, 8 from those last 2. 13 in all from the over, 4 gone, going at 11s, 44 without loss.
Yeah, very nice start by the Warriors here. No wickets is key, of course, but 11 runs and over those last 2 overs have really upped that run rate. As you say, Isabel, just gives them a little bit of space now. Don't have to go quite as gung-ho, especially with Matthew Humphries coming on now.
Yeah, and actually taking Sean Davey out of the attack in the power play means that they'll have to burn up another over of Humphries inside the first 6. The 2 fielders out mid-wicket and square for the left-handed Sam Topping. Can Sam Topping persuade himself to come forward? Yes, and a little tickle. It's a boundary start off the over. Their trump card, Matthew Humphries, not getting his line right so far today.
Yep, just drifting down leg. A little quicker ball if you don't get it right. So it's just take a little nick off the bat, or indeed just off the pad, it'll run away. So under a little bit of pressure here. The Knights, and that's going to be another boundary, and that's going to bring up the 50 for the Northwest Warriors. Sam Topping may have a little bit of a struggle last week in Brady. We sort of said that he wasn't looking comfortable even in that 20 that he got. He's certainly looking a bit more comfortable today here in Dublin.
Yeah, good plans. And it's a 50 partnership, of course, because it's the opening pair, dominated by Sam Topping. 36 from just 16 deliveries. Balbirnie's got the best seat in the house at the other end. He's hoping that Sam Topping can just keep going. And there you go again, on the front foot. Good from the left-handed opener. I think the best spinner today, it's pretty obvious, has been Andy McBrine. He's the one who's figured out the pace to bowl at on the pitch, albeit outside the power play. But Matthew Humphries, Ben White, Gavin Hoey haven't been able to figure out. I think it's the pace that they've bowled at and the length that they've bowled that pace at. Obviously has a lot to do with it. Another quicker ball, and that's found the gap as well. Watch out, pigeons, because Andy Balbirnie finally found the gap. Overpitched once more. Humphries, third boundary in the over so far. 2 still to come.
Well, these two have been as fluent as we've seen all day. The boundaries coming at a regular rate here. 3 on this over already. Overpitched this time. Humphries in the power play. Hasn't got much cover on the rope, so beating the outfield a couple of times in this over.
Great skills from Balbirnie. Just gets the bottom hand in so that you can get it forward of Cade Carmichael and extra cover. Mid-wicket out, long off out as well. And better gets up and over, gets some drop on that one, Matthew Humphries.
You can see the difference there just with that delivery there. It's landed in a similar sort of area, but because he'd got that a little bit above the eye line, wasn't able just to put the foot down and put the hands through the ball. Didn't get as much power in the shot.
Another quicker one, just clipped off the pads again from Andy Balbirnie. So an expensive over, manages to close it out pretty well, but 3 boundaries in it, 2 singles, 14 from it. And Northwest Warriors will be thinking, maybe that is below par that we kept them to. 58 without loss after 5.
Certainly looks at the minute. Last 3 overs, double digits plus for the Warriors. It's really taken them to a good position in the one before. The end of the power play, 58 without loss, with still 1 over to go in this power play. There's your comparison score. So both boxes ticked for the Northwest Warriors. More runs, less wickets. Good equation.
Well, they were on top of the Northwest Warriors in the power play, but then Northern Knights came back strong. They'll be hoping to come back strong. Sean Davey switching ends, hoping for a switch in fortunes. The matchup, it feels like, is Davey to Sam Topping. So Andy Balbirnie happy to just take the single and let Sam Topping see if he can milk some more runs out of the New Zealand medium pacer.
Yeah, 1 game all between these two so far. Obviously that game was abandoned last week without a ball being bowled. So 1 game all. This will be the decider in terms of the Warriors against the Knights in the T20. And a little bit of bragging rights,
Yeah,
and also table wise, close up to the Knights and can still finish second the Warriors. There's another boundary coming for Topping. Just seems to be all over Sean Davey at the minute, no matter where he bowls it. Seems to find a way to find the boundary.
An audacious shot this from Sam Topping. Really looking to come forward. It's dug in from Sean Davey, but stands up nice and tall. Trusts to his hands. Fielder's all up on the offside. Just had to get it over the infield. Does so with ease. Going to change the field here. Coming around the wicket at the left-hander. Mid-wicket in. Long on back. Square leg back as well. So a little bit of a split field. In at Sam Topping. Good plan and good execution as well.
Yeah, it's just a funny thing about cricket. We will go back to that, if you remember that spell from Matthew Humphries against the West Indies in the T20, and he was moving the field every ball, but he wasn't conceding runs, so we were all, that's great, he's changing the field, he's got good plans, he knows what he's doing. Sean Davey moves the people about when there's balls disappearing the boundaries. Kind of get the impression that he just doesn't know what he's doing. He does not have a plan, just because the ball's disappearing.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you can have a plan and not execute, and then just feel like you can't execute it. You know, it's too tough. There's too small a margin for error. So maybe that's how he felt about the previous plan, bowling around the wicket and having the 2 out, square leg and mid wicket. Didn't feel like he could bowl full. Only 2 fielders out makes it so difficult.
Absolutely.
Come back to that field now. Stays around the wicket to the left-hander.
A rare dot ball. A rare dot ball. 42 from 20 now. So I'm topping.
Good resilience this from Sean Davey. Expensive first over, went for 17, went for boundary off the second. Sticking at it though. And just topping up for room again.
Yeah, good finish to the over. Power play definitely goes to the Northwest Warriors then. 65 without loss.
Oh, well, both power plays, you'd have to say, went to the Northwest Warriors. The Northern Knights were 44 for 2. They were planning a rebuild at the end of the power play, having lost both their openers, and Northwest Warriors 65 without loss in their first power play. Ali McCalmont gets his first break of the day. Dave Surratt, welcome back.
Great to be on. Great to be here at Pembroke for the first day of this T20 festival, the final one. This competition, they've come thick and fast. Been up and down the country. It's been a lot of cricket.
You've got up some miles. There was the Evoke Super Series as well. So you've certainly seen some of the country, Dave.
7 festivals in total.
Yeah, 7 festivals in a month is no mean feat. I've certainly got to know the players better anyway, their cricket anyway. Cian Robertson bowls the first over outside the power play. I'm really interested to see how he goes, because for the spinners it's been Andy McBrine who's been successful, and pretty much none of the rest of them so far. Can Cian Robertson buck the trend with McBrine? Andy Balburney finds the fielder on that occasion, but good to see him still out there. He's not faced quite as much as Sam Topping.
But he's looked well in his innings. Just a slight misfield there.
I'm surprised they didn't just run from the start. Sean Davey had to move a good bit to his right there, and they only ran once they saw the misfield.
Yeah, this is somewhat surprising.
They'd both taken about 4 or 5 steps down the pitch as well at that point, so a little bit strange. Field is spread now, mid-wicket, square, long on, long off, cover out. Big gap in mid-wicket. No one saving the single in there for Sam Topping. It's a really short delivery, but Topping can't find the gap.
Matt Humphrey's going from one end of the field to the other. Pretty sure he was fielding in front of us moments ago.
Yeah,
He's
well,
everywhere.
I think we had, who did we have in the first game? It was Tim Tector was going from literally mid-wicket boundary on one side to mid-wicket boundary on the other, in between for the batters changeover. So left-right hand combination. It was a lot to ask of him. Then he just said, "Okay, I'll go off and I'll open the batting now."
No bother at all.
No, well, young legs obviously.
But yeah, fascinating, like you're saying, to see how Robertson goes here. He acquitted himself quite well in Breedy, I thought, in terms of those changes of pace, and that's exactly what you're talking about with Andy McBrine that we saw earlier. So being able to get something out of these match moments, these occasions, even if, for example, you're not getting spin, you're not getting turn or bounce, there's plenty of other things you would have in your armoury as a spinner.
No spin, no turn, and no bounce. That's a lot to
It's
ask
a lot,
for a spinner. There's a bit of bounce out there, I'd say. Yeah, good from him. He's just not, but he's not forcing it as much as I think those other 3 spinners that I mentioned were guilty of doing on occasion, because he doesn't tend to bowl as quickly through the air as they do. So he's got to rely on more subtle changes of pace. Of course, all the spinners worried about the straight boundaries being quite short, but Keane Robertson just goes for 4 singles in his first 7 overs gone. Northwest Warriors 69 without loss, and this is exactly what Northern Knights need to do, isn't it? Just try and squeeze now that the field is spread, and try and get a wicket that way.
Exactly, yeah. Try and get the squeeze on. Nonchalant over, just easily done there by Robertson. Gets through it. No drama at all.
Is he like a swan? Everything's going on below the water.
Exactly.
It's like actually there's a million things going through his mind, but he just makes it look easy. We're going to get our first look at Adam Kennedy. This competition comes into the team today in place of Ruan Pretorius. They would have liked to have Ruan Pretorius coming in when Cade Carmichael got out earlier. It would have been a handy addition with bat in hand, but not in the squad.
Yeah, it's very important for the side. We mentioned, I think the wickets have been a problem for the Knights batting wise, and definitely lengthens that order.
And someone who can go from ball 1, which is a very handy quality to have. Right arm, medium fast, Adam Kennedy. Good start. I saw him in the warm-up, and he was spraying a few around, so good to see. By the end of the warm-up, he'd seemed to get a bit more consistency. No doubt there are nerves.
Maybe a few nerves. Possibly got them out of the way. A few jitters.
Yeah, you'd have liked for there to be a few wickets down when he came on, I'm sure.
But just the perfect opportunity for him to come in, of course. And
correct. Do a David Delaney. Good again. Thought David Delaney was absolutely brilliant, wasn't he, in that first innings? It's the first time I've seen him be right on the money from ball 1 in his spell. Generally bowls quite full at the start and then starts going up in terms of how quickly he bowls and changing up his lengths, but he was so good from the first ball.
Yeah, what a spell. It really is frightening now looking at that Leinster Lightning bowling attack. Obviously you've got Barry McCarthy up front, who's been electrifying in the power play, but then there's other bowlers now coming into it as well in terms of form.
Ruben Wilson is a perfect example of that. Slightly easier for the right-hander, I think. That line over the wicket to Sam Topping, just not giving him any room, but Andy Balbirnie looking comfortable. But just singles so far in the last, or since the power play finished, which will please the Northern Knights no end, no doubt.
But I really like this opening partnership from the Warriors, Topping and Balbirnie. Balbirnie obviously knows this ground extremely well, his home ground. Topping's scoops and ramps, of course. We've seen a few of those. But mostly singles, well, in the last few overs now, as the field has been spread.
Yeah, I think maybe the Northwest Warriors thinking we don't want to lose a wicket at this point. They don't need to search for boundaries. The current run rate close to 9.5, and their run rate required lower than 8.5. That being said, they've just taken 9 runs in the last 10 deliveries. Nicely slipped off the pads, manages to get it between the fielders. Good work in the deep though. Cade Carmichael so quick. He'll come back for an easy 2.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that he scored 60, still electrifying across the ground.
Apart from that one misfield that is the only one that we've seen. We were saying we shouldn't keep going on about it. It's not really fair considering how many times he's saved 4s and he's saved 2s. But
because remember the one.
You remember the one because it really stands out as the only one. Is there a chance in the deep? No, it doesn't get enough of it. It'll be another couple.
More good work from Cade Carmichael, a victim of his own success, really, I suppose. He's so good in that one misfield.
Yeah, let's not be so Irish about it. We don't want to tear him down just because he's good. A good start that from Kennedy, and after 876 without loss. Wouldn't it be so Irish of us to just be waiting for him to be making a mistake?
No, he's fielded very well in that boundary. Looks like Will Robertson to continue, going to his second. Just a little bit chat happening with his captain, happening with Neil Rock. Maybe just a conversation about the field.
Yeah, it's always a tough one for a bowler and a captain to decide. Like, are we happy just you going for ones? I mean, you probably take 0 for 16 from 4 from Robertson if you're Neil Rock, but is he trying to get his bowler to take wickets, and if so, what's the mode of dismissal he thinks is open?
Yeah, you'd have to question whether that's the plan. Obviously, it was great opening over from Robertson. Maybe on this ground that's what you take, but maybe you've other ideas too.
Reverse sweep comes out. Just one fielder saving the single there. That's Paul Sterling, but there is a deep point. So good field placement. It's almost 2 positions in 1 for Sam Topping with that point out. A single off the first. Andy Balbirnie down on one knee, just lifts it over and takes an unkind bounce for Ben Kletz there. Really accelerates after it hits the ground. Clever thinking from Andy Balbirnie. They had a look last over. They're going to take him on this one.
He fancies a sweep, of course. So it's Andy Balbirnie. Down on one knee. Up and over.
Yeah, good thinking from him. Just not worrying about the backlift. All happens in the follow through in Andy Balbirnie's sweep. And punch down the ground for 1. I think they might have talked, these two, about how they're going to score boundaries off Robertson, because he does bowl more slowly through the air. Both going for the sweep early in the over with mixed success.
Yeah, it's potentially a good way to target him. Topping had a go with the reverse sweep earlier on in the over, but could only get the 1 and just kind of it really bobbled off a very energetic sweep to Sterling.
2 dots. Very good from Robertson.
A nice game of cat and mouse here now.
Sam Topping trying to figure out what his options are, and while he's figuring that out, Robertson is just sneaking a few dots through. Back foot again, and I think they'll try and come back for a second. Should do. Ben Kletz looking to try and cut it off, won't manage to do it. So a boundary in the over means that a couple of dots aren't too costly for the Northwest Warriors. 9 gone, 84 without lost Northwest Warriors.
I would have said Ben Kletz perhaps slightly weary from his innings earlier, but 6 sixes.
Yeah, I was going to say, he wasn't doing too much running, was he? I don't know. I don't think it takes quite as much effort to whack the 6s if you're strong enough to compared to running up and down. But he had to do a bit of running at Cade Carmichael at the other end.
Yep. Some more conversations happening here in the middle. Matt Humphreys there with his captain. Matt Humphreys, who'd filled in.
Yeah, he's gone up to his captain and said, "Here, give me the ball."
Yeah. Sometimes the conversation.
I've got an idea.
Yeah. Have a go at this one.
Changes ends. 0 for 23 from 2, so he's been expensive. He's generally known for not going too many in the power play, but all the teams aware of what he brings to the table at this point, so generally have plans to counteract that. Munster Reds generally, well, they changed their batting lineup, didn't they? They put a left-hander at the top and then at number 3 as well, just to try and counteract the left-arm spinners. Northwest Warriors don't need to make a change because they have Sam Topping there anyway.
Just a single to start things off. Yeah, tricky start for Matt Humphreys, which is good. It's what you want to see in a way. You want to see your, well, he's becoming your senior bowler almost at international level. He's taken to it so well. So it's great to see him being tested out here with different plans, different options. Left hand, right hand.
Yeah, he's senior probably in the T20 format. He seems to have that spot anyway at the moment. Oh, there he goes, just keeping Sam Topping honest. Sweeping as well comes forward. They're pushing for the second here. And take on Ben Kletz as well. In off the boundary nice and quickly. Just slightly too much on the ball maybe from Sam Topping. Went just outside the 30-yard circle.
Yeah, you'd want to weight that maybe slightly better, but Matt Humphreys really raced off the blocks to try and get to that ball, but couldn't beat Ben Kletz.
Yeah, I think the thing is, as a bowler, you're not going to get to the 30-yard circle before the batters get back for their second. Oh, and how is that one? That looks adjacent. It is. Andy Balbirnie looking for a sweep again, and Matt Humphreys taking the pace off ever so slightly. The breakthrough comes. It comes pretty late, but is it timely for the Northern Knights? They've kept these two relatively quiet in the last couple of overs. Pressure on. Balbirnie looking for a boundary. He goes for 35 from 25. 1-6, 3 4s in that innings. Good strike rate of 140. And Northern Knights has taken them to the 10th over to get the breakthrough. Northwest Warriors 86 for 1.
Yeah, lovely piece of bowling there from Matt Humphreys. Just slightly slow through the air. You mentioned that he'd been slightly expensive in his start. Maybe a bit too quick. Holding it back on this occasion. And Balbirnie going through with his favourite sweep. Maybe Matt Humphreys just slightly guilty there of the celeb appeal. He was off. He was flying.
You can forgive him, can't you, when he's been expensive in the first 2 overs, had to bowl on the power play?
Yeah, he gets rewards for a very good piece of bowling against the senior batter. He was looking good, he was going nicely in his home ground.
There haven't been many appeals, so he had to fit a lot into that one appeal, Matt Humphreys.
He moves quickly, as we saw from that dash to the 30-yard circle earlier on in the over.
Bragging rights on offer here. So a few quick wickets. It's amazing how things can turn. Jake Egan, he is in pretty good form up in his home tournament up in Breedy. Can he back that up down here in Pembroke? Oh, and straight away on the back foot. We know he loves going on the back foot, the Australian, but might not be the bowler to do it to.
Might not
Certainly
be the right
not that
option.
line.
Yeah, and straight away we could see a slip in, so this is fascinating to see. Mentioned a conversation earlier ago between Robertson and his captain. It's like, what are the plans necessarily? Do we want wickets or do we want to put on the squeeze? Or
Yeah,
both?
good bowling, very good bowling. That's just the perfect line in length at that pace. Sticking a little bit. And when you know someone like Egan wants you on the back foot, you can maybe air a little bit fuller. Humphrey's smile is back. He's looking a little bit grave there, wasn't he? But I'd love to know if it was him who had gone up to Neil Rock and said, look, I really think I can take the wicket, because that's certainly what it looked like from the outside anyway. So really good over from Humphreys. Gets the breakthrough. Just the 3 singles in it. Northern Knights fighting back here halfway through the overs. Northwest Warriors 87 for 1.
Yeah, it was a great piece of bowling there. And that over wasn't really much of a chat. We mentioned that chat between Neil Rock and Matt Humphreys. It wasn't much of a chat really. You suspect maybe the direction of traffic in that conversation was Humphreys saying, give me the ball. Maybe this is the moment. And was a little moment there in the match, in the context of the match, in the context of the chase, removing Balbirnie, because they were going quite nicely. Sam Topping and Andrew Balbirnie.
Well, there's I think there's more conversation. There's a lot of leaders in this team, which can actually cause its own problems. But Adam Kennedy had been taking his cap off. He's been sent back to his fielding position, and Cian Robertson has to take the long run from third on the boundary to come and bowl his third over. And it's a case of, I think they probably didn't want him getting lined up, Cian Robertson, but now that Andy Balbirnie's out, you've got a new batter in. You've got a batter who likes to go on the back foot, so get your left arm spinner. He's going to try and get one through the defences, or through the back foot shot, I should say.
Topping seemed to be struggling strangely, like as the left-hander to the left-arm spinner, seemed to be struggling maybe with his options, whether it's to go for that reverse sweep, which is kind of picking the paces, the different options there from Robertson, different pace delivery, sorry. So they've gone for that third over. There'll be one slightly too many. We'll just have to see here.
Egan giving himself room, gets the inside edge through the legs. They'll come back for a second. That's a wild throw from Ben Kletz, but it's perfect for Rossiter to collect an extra cover.
Nearly getting the result there. Just a bit of an inside edge.
Yes, slip is in. They're sensing an opportunity to get a few wickets in a row here. The Northern Knights. If not a wicket, then some dot balls would be welcome. Egan, Rossiter and Robertson having a game among themselves here.
Yeah, and you can see he's kind of flying through this over. He's trying to, anyway, Robertson.
Quicker one, it's absolutely powered out to Kate Carmichael in the deep.
The Knights enjoying their work, their life now in the field.
Yeah, they're certainly vocal when they feel like they're on top. Sam Topping's been waiting for a while to get to his half century. I was noting it a couple of overs ago that he was 2 away. It's taken an age for him to get just one closer.
So it's interesting to see this battle last over between Topping and Robertson.
That will be 50. This takes the easy single out to Morgan Topping. Gets the applause from the Northwest Warriors. 33 deliveries for that 56 fours, 2 sixes. And it feels like he's just finding some form again after a little bit of a quiet period in the home series up in Breedy.
Yeah, good option taken there, just to take the single, if you weather out this pressure.
Clever thinking from Egan, looking to go down the ground, but I think Robertson nearly managed to grab on there. Be interesting to see the replay on this and see how close it was. A good option to stay with him, but he doesn't manage to take the second wicket in a couple of overs. 5 runs from that one. 92 for 1 from 11.
Yeah, we'd question whether that was going to be the one too many, perhaps, from Robertson. But yeah, we can see the wagon wheel there from Topping all around the wicket. Maybe most notably the V behind with the scoops and the ramps that he's noted to play. So he's a great batter to have in terms of having those gaps, especially when you've got other batters who might complement that, just to upset the bowling plans.
Yeah, makes the bowlers have to think that extra bit more, doesn't it, when you've got someone who can play those ramps and scoops. It's going to be Adam Kennedy. He's going to stay the same end as his first over, which I thought was really good, particularly to Sam Topping.
Yeah, got a good bounce there. Yeah, we mentioned he started quite well. Maybe a few nerves to begin with.
He's a tall guy, isn't he? Because I was thinking that maybe against Jake Egan, he'd be a good matchup for the batter because he likes the back foot so much. But being a tall guy, he gets it to lift from a slightly fuller length than maybe other bowlers. Tom May's similar, so no surprise to see they want him bowling from this end, from the St. John's end. That's the end where you bowl from. You can hit the ridge, get an extra bit of lift. Topping in position early. That was the perfect delivery for it as well. He'll be disappointed. Execution not there. He just moved out of the line of the ball, maybe?
He moves exceptionally early, and you feel it's a brilliant quality in a way because he gets to position quite early, but maybe the head just moves slightly at the end, getting out of the line.
Yeah.
But a very early mover.
Yeah, innings very much stalled, hasn't it? Since the wicket in particular. Over the wicket, just tucking Topping up for room.
Yeah, it was a good partnership between Topping and Bob Burney, that way they complemented each other quite nicely. Egan now has to fulfill that role, just to maybe take that pressure off Topping. He's kind of slightly struggled a little bit in the last 2 or 3 overs. Egan, who of course had a bit of form in the last festival in Breedy.
Yeah, just 28 runs added since the power play. Gets in that position again, and gets the head behind the ball and gets it all the way for 6, making full use of the extra pace. Goes back to his skill. We've seen it twice so far now. He doesn't manage to execute one, and then when he tries it the next time, does a better job.
Yeah, moves very early. The head still just stays in line this time. Maybe a slight difference in a thud in the advertising hoarding. Something for Kenny to have a little bit of a think about.
65 from the first 6 overs. That one gloved down to almost the exact same place, but just along the ground this time. 6 and 4. So a handy 10 added, and just 2 balls from Sam Topping. Almost punched down to fine leg, as that was just misdirected and not a good length either.
We mentioned maybe just like a slight stalling from the Warriors, but maybe this has just jump-started things a little bit. Just getting enough on that to get it past the fielder.
And 100 came up with that boundary as well. 103 for 1 with 1 to go in the 12th. And they're wide on this occasion. That is going very quickly out to Kate Carmichael. Good thing he was in exactly the right spot. So 12 gone, 104 for 1. Second half of that over. Just getting things going for the Northwest Warriors again. Sam Topping still out in the middle, 61 from 38. He's been really good. Inventive, powerful, bit of elegance as well. Paul Burney was good while he was there. Great opening partnership for them of 86. 35 from 25 for him before he missed a good delivery from Matthew Humphreys. And now Jay Keegan slightly struggling, but still there and dangerous. And Dave Sirra, thanks so much for joining us. But to take us to the close, Ali McCalmont. Who should they bowl?
Yeah, just a little 5 over spell. I was off there. Just see them squeeze in a little bit. I think they only took 30 from the last 5 or so until that last over. Just that little release. The ramp shot he'd missed a couple of times came off for Topping, but goes all the way, and then he gets another one down the leg, and it goes for 4. And suddenly 10 off 2. Just releases that pressure a little bit.
Tom Mays changes ends and over pitches. Topping manages to punch it through. It just never slowed down the hill towards the 10th. You think you're in with a chance all the way at this outfield lightning.
Yeah, it is pretty quick. Didn't seem to get all of that. It just seems to be travelling quicker and quicker. Goes down a little hill. Another boundary for Topping, so all of a sudden 3 boundaries in quick succession. That could be another, and is slightly uppish, but similar area. Carson McCulloch does the fielding, but he's got a bib on, so it doesn't count. 4 more to Topping.
Yeah, just too full again. He's around the wicket at Topping. Not really sure that's the best option if that's the length you're going to bowl. Gap found between Rossiter and Paul Sterling twice in 2 balls. And he pulls the length back. I think that might have been the slower one. Sam Topping waiting for it. 4-4-6 off his bat. He's really getting going again.
Well, maybe he was just waiting on me coming back, because he's just gone. Again here, he played beautifully for his first 40 or so runs. Got a little bit tied up, but since he's gone to his 50 now, in the last couple of overs, he's gone 4-4-6 in this one. He's middled that one right over to that leg side. So all of a sudden, we're looking at 9.5 and over. A couple of overs back, and now really taking control of this game, really through the hands of Sam Topping. Now you can see the comparison well ahead on both metrics, runs and wickets.
You're talking about Sam Topping stalling a little bit. I think It's more Northern Knights managing to keep the other guy on strike. He just was watching from the other end, having a look back through the ball by ball. He just didn't have a lot of the strike. And there's a change up. There's going to be work to do for Morgan Topping. Just a little bit of footwork not quite there for him. So Jake Egan comes back for the second. He's doing his job. He's got to make sure that the guy that's been in since the beginning gets back on strike as much as possible. 16 so far in the over.
Yep, not a good day. The ball for Thomas Mays at the minute. Slower again. Get away with one this time. As goes straight to Kletz, but yeah, I thought it might suit Mays today. This wicket having had a look at what we've seen so far. It'll pound out that way. As you say, sometimes the wicket that suits you doesn't really actually turn out that way, and you bowl a little bit different than normally thinking. But definitely hasn't gone well so far. Tom Mays 34 from just 2.5.
Short ball, well directed. Jake Egan. He'll come back for the second. Just the slightest misfield, and yeah, no wonder he's a little bit frustrated. Cian Robertson, all you need is a tiny bit of a mistake and they'll come back for the second. A really expensive over on the return for Tom Mays, 19 from it. And a real acceleration for the Northwest Warriors. That wicket of Andy Balbirnie not having the effect that the Northern Knights would have wanted.
No, for sure. Just you mentioned that little misfield. It was just a tiniest little fumble. They're back for two, but that's what I like. I like to see that. That's the level we've got to reach in the Interpros and things like that. You got to reach that level where if it's a tiniest little fumble, you don't get away with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the running of Jake Egan. So even though it was going straight to the fielder, he sprinted the first one, turned, got in a position to run, and then as soon as there's a misfield, because the field is close to the boundary, you know you're going to get home by the time he picks it up and throws it. So, first bowl in the Interpro T20 Trophy, Rossiter. We didn't have enough left arm spin. We need a third, because we've left our third one out, they said.
We've got the week 4 of the festivals.
Starts off with a boundary nearly. Nope.
Not man down there.
Field well set, he'd say.
Or a little lucky. Yeah, first ball for us there. I flagged up pre-tournament he might be used for an over or two by the Knights. As it was, they picked 3 left arm frontline spinners.
Yeah.
So
would he be someone who'd be in the ear of the captain non-stop? Give me the ball.
Absolutely.
Nice bit of shape. Just the line not right, but field well set once more.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was always thinking he could do. Sort of,
maybe
not maybe in this situation, but
yeah,
sort of, you know, to go for 6 singles, just bowl darts into pads or, you know, things like that.
Nice little bit of drift as well. You get hit hard to the boundary fielders.
Situation is
to them.
Not perfect at the minute, obviously, because they're under the pump here a little bit, but just in the middle overs, I thought he could be used as a change-up.
Unfortunately, when you're a part-timer, you often only get the ball when the team's behind the 8 ball.
And problems.
And that's a problem for Rossiter because it was too full. Jake Egan had enough of a look, and that's gone many a mile. He said he looked like he was struggling a little bit. A 6 always makes things look so much better. Great contact.
Yeah, and we talked about where Ben Kletz would like the ball earlier on. I think Jake Egan well up to him. Doesn't get a massive stride forward, but it's so far up. He just get his hands underneath that, and that's gone many a mile. I think there's a bit of a convoy out to find that one. It's gone a long way.
Yeah, don't park your car in the car park here in Pembroke is the lesson there. And most famously, Kevin O'Brien breaking his own window. That was a few years ago now, but you have to be very unlucky to pick your own one out. There's a good few cars in there. And you probably do the right thing, Ali. Don't bring any car at all.
Correct. It's the safest way to be. Guarantee I'll not be breaking any windows on my own car for 2 reasons. I'll not be hitting it out of the park, or I don't drive.
Yeah, you don't really have a choice not to bring a car, do you?
No, not really. Not really.
Unless you could carry it, maybe, or have a driver. I don't think we're quite there yet, are we?
Definitely not. He's a little full. That time from Rossa there. Down to 42 from 38 now. The Warriors.
Well done by Kletz there, but a little bit difficult to stop altogether, so just a single. And that 6 just means that even though it's been actually a pretty good over, it's already gone for 10 with 1. Just getting news that apparently Carmichael has hit one of those pigeons that are hanging out getting the seeds. Apparently he's up and eating seeds again though,
okay.
so,
That's good.
So all good. 11 from that Rossadair gamble. 14 gone, 134 for 1.
Yep. Topping on 81. Egan 16. Just the 40 required now for the Northwest Warriors. Yep, something needs to change pretty quickly for the Northern Knights now. They're going to go back to Humphreys. Hasn't been a particularly fruitful day for spinners, as you said, bar the Warriors captain, you would say.
No, but I think Matthew Humphreys now, through the week, will do better. Having bowled today, he'll learn a lot from this. The first 2 overs and how the Northwest Warriors batters went about negating his weapons.
Yeah, that's been a theme from players as well, saying that they learn a lot from day 1 and take it into days 2 and 3.
Going round the wicket to the left-hander. Carmichael comes through. Chance had to hit. And a good thing there are 2 men behind point because they needed both of them to back that up.
Yeah, went to the right end there. Carmichael Egan was up and down pretty sharpish there. He was pretty safe, but direct hit there may have been very close for topping. Plus he's been out there for 14 overs.
Floated up and floated down to long on. Good brave bowling from Matthew Humphreys, who raises the finger in the air. He can't believe that. Sam Topping, he had the 100 on the cards. And the moon ball. We've been calling for it. Don't bowl too quick if you're a spinner here in Pembroke. Pace right off from Matthew Humphreys. He gets both openers out. And Sam Topping, well, it's been brilliant. 83 from 48, 9 fours, 4 sixes, and he's set up the win for his team. Now it's up to others to take it home. And in the 15th, Northwest Warriors, 136 for 2.
Yeah, in some ways you can see his frustration there. In some ways you would say he shouldn't be frustrated because he, as you say, set up the win for his team, but yeah, you want those individual little accolades as well, getting to his 100. And you were talking just now about how bowlers will learn from day 1. There's a perfect example right there. You know, I think Matthew Humphreys has learnt from even earlier on today that pace on maybe in this wicket, particularly in this ground, isn't the way to go. So he's just tried one and he'll pocket that for tomorrow and say maybe that's the way to go here. Maybe bowl a little bit slower, let it take a little bit of turn, make the batters hit the ball.
Well, I mean, I think even for the seamers, not enough slower deliveries, especially in the first game. Sometimes when it's a really good batting track, the quicker you bowl, the better it comes onto the bat, especially when the ball stops swinging around. So you need to be unpredictable. Yes, you still need to execute the slower ball well, but your good ball's pace on can go for boundaries on this pitch very easily. Now, Andy McBrine in at number 4. Good experienced player to take the team home, but never easy coming in fresh. quite clearly much slower this over. Matthew Humphries, even that delivery probably fuller than he would have wanted, but he's moved away from that quicker delivery, going back to his normal kind of spin bowling skills as opposed to that arm ball that we've become so familiar with. That's just a proper left arm spin bowling delivery, isn't it? Like up and over,
Completely
bit of drift in,
Yeah.
turn. It just shows you do not need to just go quicker and quicker and quicker, even with such a good batting track and the position that they're in.
Yeah, just a completely different way of doing it here. Left arm spinner. We've seen him over the past few weeks. Goes back to the quicker ball. Will be one, you would think. Oh, good pace from Egan again. Sees where that goes, and he's really quick as Egan, and he does get back for 2.
Yeah, I'd say Cade Carmichael stewing out there. Absolutely hates giving away 2s, and that wasn't far away from him. It's a long boundary, so it does take a while to get to you, and it takes a while for you to throw it in, but that's one that he would... That's his bread and butter as a boundary fielder, keeping that to 1.
Yeah, as I always say, he'd want that one back again.
It went down the long barrier, and,
Yeah.
and I don't think I've ever seen him do that, but that little misfield earlier on playing on his mind, didn't want it to scoot through. Well bowled. Watch out, the pigeons. No pigeons were harmed in the filming of this cricket match. 15 gone, 140 for 2.
Yeah, really interesting over there from Humphries. Just took a pace off a lot in that over. Again there, that last ball. That might be the one that beats the bat. Yep. It's back to old school Matthew Humphries, really. There's a little bit of flight and guile, but
Just shows if you take the pace off, there is bounce there for the spinner. So actually, there's something Dave was talking about, you know, you have to figure out a way when there's no turn, no pace, no bounce. I was going, okay, surely one of the 3.
Yep.
But there is bounce there for the spinners. He's bowled out now, Humphries 2 for 32. He's been the only one to take wickets. Mays has been expensive. Davey was expensive in his first over, but came back well. Went for 17, I think it was, in the first, so 7 in the second. So he's getting to bowl the 16th. Just the 1 over for Ross Adair. We haven't brought up the off spin of Paul Sterling yet.
no.
It's usually something we bring up quite early.
Cutting in the offside, Morgan Topping. Will Regan be back again? Well, he is.
Breaking hearts with 2s there.
Definitely. Definitely. He's
Well, I think this is something to look at from the other teams, because we saw a lot of people only running 1s out there, and there is good work in the deep from Morgan Topping, but it is such a long boundary that, you know, if you're quick, you
Yep.
can come back for the second. He was in absolutely no danger there.
We talked about it at Stormont as well. It didn't take long for him to work out that 2s was the way to go there. Just with that bigger boundary. Okay, straight is a little bit shorter, but square definitely isn't.
Good change up from Davey. Just threw the shot a little bit early. Too eager from Egan.
Yeah, Egan scored 100 for his club side the weekend, so he's banging form. Scored last week.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it, for club sides that whose players are playing in the Interpros? Sometimes you're thinking, oh, I wish they'd stop playing those interviews.
Yep.
Interpros, they're coming back tired or they're out of form in the Interpros. And that's gone many a mile up. Fielder settling underneath, but it just about has the legs. We've seen 2 real teasers out there on that boundary. It was Ben Kletz who thought that he was going to be able to get there for that one, but just about had the bottom hand enough to get it the distance.
Yeah, just about middled at this point. Matthew Humphries has gone over for the relay, but unfortunately, from the Knights' point of view, Kletz can't get enough on it, even to get a hand to bring it back in.
We need those ones to be lower trajectory to be able to jump up and keep it in. Another slower ball from Davey. And when it's that high and coming over your head, you've absolutely no chance of jumping and kind of throwing it into your fielding partner.
Yeah, I think the only way you're getting that is if you're on the back foot to just launch it. You're not going to look at your partner, whereas they like to be able to look at the partner, be able to get it in their area. You're just going to have to take it and throw it up in the air and just hope. But it was too far. 6 more to Egan. He's moved on to 28 now.
Yeah, just a couple of sixes in this kind of chase now. 25 from 26. It is worth, when you've got 8 wickets in hand, it's worth trying to just get 1 or 2 sixes, because that puts the game to bed really. 4 overs to go.
I'll just ice it really. You know, if you can pick up a couple of boundaries, and even better if they're sixes. Andy McBrine just faced 2 balls since he came in. Happy enough to just sit down the other end.
Yeah, he won't want to leave it to anyone else though. So I'd say he might be the one that just looks to turn the strike over. Egan can take the risks out of the 2.
Yeah, people will say, you know, tournament's done. Lightning have won it. Team sitting 3rd, 2nd. Andy McBrine will want this win. He'll win the series, as it were, against the Knights.
Well, it's no different from any league.
Yep.
We've seen leagues be put to bed very early on in every sport over the years. 16 gone, that's 150 up. 150 for 2 with 4 overs to go. Just 24 from 24 required. Yeah, so like, it happens all the time, doesn't it? When in leagues and competitions, obviously not in cup competitions, and that's why we love them so much. Cups, because you can be top of the pops one week and then have a terrible day the next week and you're out.
Yep.
But leagues are about the teams that are the most consistent across a longer period of time. And while Leinster Lightning were beaten on the first day, they've been consistent ever since. The teams have been a little bit more up and down, and so that's why they've cantered to the win. But for the other 3 teams, it's really a race to second, isn't it? It's trying to jostle for position, and any points they can take off Leinster Lightning are bonus as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Lightning will play the Warriors tomorrow. Finish off with the Knights. Ken Robertson giving the ball to replace Humphreys, who's finished his 4.
Be a pity not to see Gavin Ralston at some point, wouldn't it? What number is he going to come out?
I'd like to think if we get down a fit here, he's going to at least get the pads on. One way he'll be quite happy, I suppose, because his team will have got over the line. But yeah, been a long 3 weeks for Gavin Ralston. Finally gets into the lineup. There's another misfield. Doesn't actually cost anything, because we're going to get comfortable 2 anyway.
Yeah, look, it's. I think when you're part of Team 12, it's how you look at it. It can be frustrating watching from the sideline, especially when your team's not winning. And dance down the wicket. Chance. I reckon maybe Neil Rock should have let that go through. I don't know if it was hitting, but the only way it was going to be out was if he hit direct. Amazing how much time it takes for a keeper to collect and actually move the ball to the stumps.
Even if you're in front, it's still a long time. We always talk about the ball coming past the stumps and you going back. But even when you're coming with the ball, it still takes a little bit of time to divert it.
Need to take this wicket. Cian Robertson needs to take it, and you need to take it now. Whereas if Egan can get a boundary this ball, really swings for the Northwest Warriors. Good dot. You can see Egan wants to put the game to bed, so it does open up opportunities for the Northern Knights, who haven't given up on this yet.
Offside by Egan. He's got it in front of Kletz. There's that boundary you're talking about, is he? He's looking for boundaries to try and make sure this doesn't go to the 20th. Always talk about that, try and close the game out in 19 at a maximum.
You just can't give that width, can you, to someone like Jake Egan. Gets the hands through, absolutely helps himself. That's right in his area. Jake Egan, you can see him, he's almost outside leg stump. Wants any kind of width. Extra cover goes out in the boundary now, point and extra cover out. Long off as well, long on, deep mid wicket. Does manage to get it in tight, but Egan good enough to drop the bat in it and get down the other end.
They'll be pretty pleased with this performance so far at the Northwest Warriors. As you've mentioned, it's kind of their MO. Play well day one. They've won their games over the festivals. Day one.
Didn't go towards the ball there,
Yeah.
Andy McBrine. So a dot to close that out. 4 overs bowled for Robertson. No wickets, but just 25 runs. So pretty good from him, but not good enough because they need wickets. And only Matt Humphries has managed to get any for the Northern Knights. Pretty calm tent over there for the Northwest Warriors.
Trying to pick out Gavin Rolson if he's in there.
Hume's definitely in there in his kit.
Yeah, don't see him.
Who's behind
That's
Wilson
Macbeth.
there? Wilson hiding at the back.
Could be.
Sean Davey will bowl his final over, not for 34. Take half those runs off. That was his first over. It was in the power play. Better second and third over. It's one of the only ones who's changed his pace.
So Jake Egan on 33, 16 required.
Slower ball to start. Hopping out to Morgan Topping in the deep. A rare one. Oh dear. They're going to take a second off that misfield from the captain. He doesn't look happy, does he? Really, Neil Rock with that throw. Throw came in. It wasn't a good distance away from him. Came off the pad and they've absolutely stolen a second.
That is a steal. Not good. Little learning tool for junior players, maybe. Always got to keep your eye on the ball. There's always that opportunity. Little misfield or a ball going in. That's a lot of kids just running to the far end, and that's it done. I've done my job. Got in. Missing overthrows or just little fumbles like that.
Clips down to long on. Pressure's on every fielder now because they know how good these two are running between the wickets.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. If you do put the pressure on fielders and they become a little bit tighter, because you know, one little mistake, pick up an extra run.
That's such a difficult time to bowl. 13 only required from 16, 8 wickets in hand. Oh, and well placed. Ben Carl's diving there to try and keep it to 1. Instead it'll go for 2. Good placement from the Northwest Warriors captain.
Yeah, again, maybe in a different scenario, may have thrown the hands a lot more, but right now, just looking ones, and then if you can't play the ball into a gap, maybe 2s. Just place that nicely. Did McBrine.
I think that'll be a wide. Yeah, signalled. Johnny Kennedy. The effort ball just a bit too short from Davy.
Yeah, we said this quite a lot during the tournament. Not too sure what the post-match analysis will be for the Knights here. Again, losing wickets early. Really able to set up a platform for lower order. That's going to go down for 4. Beats Adam Kennedy down there. Goes to the boundary. Beautifully played. McBrine just helped it on its way.
Yeah, uses all the pace and adds to it as well. Andy McBrine, like almost like an uppercut, and just about evades the fielder coming in off the boundary. Maybe not the best angle from Adam Kennedy, but it does feel like it's a foregone conclusion at this point. 6 now required from just 14 balls.
It's dragged wide. He's going to get round just, but should be 2.
It's amazing how much energy you have when the end is in sight, isn't it? The finish line is right there for the Northwest Warriors, so easy to come back for the 2 if you're Andy McBrine.
Yep. Often would be critical of the Knights, but I think we've got to give the Warriors a bit of credit here. 2 wickets up top. Ball shaped about nicely.
And importantly, they managed to get out the 2 set batters. Yes, they made some good runs, but it was in a rescue attempt. 2 overs to go, 171 for 2. Just 3 runs to win with 12 balls to do it in. Who's going to get the penultimate? I think it might be Tom Mays.
Yeah, and then their batters have come out and done the job today. Set up. Well, Bernie didn't kick on again, but set up a really nice partnership with Topping. And then continued that on with Egan, and now, after the wicket of Topping, any little nervous sort of feeling in the dressing room was taken away by McBrine. They were happy enough to take their 1s and 2s and then pick up the odd boundary and really closed it out really nicely.
And Egan just not slowing down because of that wicket. He just kept on going, and that meant McBrine could just work the ball around, try and get 1s and 2s.
So just 3 to win for the Northwest Warriors. Say this will close up the chasing pack behind the Lightning, who have won again today. Mays into Andy McBrine. Steps away, but
well, frustration from Tom Mays. It just says no, because that should never be a single. Great execution, but it just always on the hunt. Any kind of sniff of a run, and Jake Egan's ready. Great quality to have as a batter, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. He's been, as well as he's played in terms of hitting the ball, his running between the wickets has been particularly striking today. Maybe a blueprint for the next 2 days for batters as well.
Dunno ends up there.
A little bit of an edge there.
That's been brilliant bowling. Why didn't we see this earlier, Tom Mays? Why wait till so late on in the game to bowl your Yorkers? I feel like it's a good weapon at any time, isn't it?
Well, definitely, if you can nail them like that, if you can execute those balls, I just don't think we see it enough these days. I get the fact that if you miss a little bit, you can't go out of the park, but it's such a good tactic if you can execute really well.
Dances downfield, is up 1 to win, and he hits it for 4. Don't bother running, because otherwise you don't get the 4. But they do get it signalled, and a marker laid down maybe for the week in Pembroke for Northwest Warriors. A very well put together victory for them. It was started off with the ball. There was some good fight backs after the Northern Knights got back into it, and then batting wise, the opening pair did most of the damage. They set up the win, and everyone who came in behind looked good. Tom Mays goes the short delivery. McBrine helps himself to 4.
Yeah, a little bit of a free hit there for Andy McBrine at the end. They brought the field up, so he's pretty much going after that. As soon as it was delivered, he does hit it to the boundary, picks up his 4, as you say. Extra couple of runs there into McBrine's account, and pretty comfortable win really for the Northwest Warriors, I would say. Pretty much outplayed the Northern Knights today in most departments. Just that period when Kletz was trying to rescue the innings where it looked as if they could get away from them, but generally pretty good performance from the Warriors.
Yeah, and I think when they managed to get Carmichael out and then Ben Kletz, that was really important because it just stalled things at the end of the innings despite that 6 in the final delivery from Matt Humphreys. And it, as you said, makes the table behind the leaders Leinster Lightning a lot more interesting now. Just tightens things up in the middle. The Reds have some to go to try and chase third, but it's all to play for the Northern Knights and the Northwest Warriors in the next 2.
Yeah, there's your Knights card all the way back. And once again, wickets early. Ross Adair went to Graham Hume. Paul Stirling then to a nice little plan from David O'Sullivan. And Carmichael was the glue there, but Topping and Rock also went quickly, but it was the partnership between Carmichael and Kletz that was really starting to get the momentum into the Knights innings. Carmichael went for 60, Kletz went on. They make 52 off 32. But just at the end there, and Northwest Warriors brought it back really well until that final 6 from Humphrey. So 173 was the final total for the Knights.
Yeah, after the start, he felt 173 was actually okay. Good rebuild as 4 partnerships got going, but the Northwest Warriors kept taking wickets until Carmichael and Kletz came together. That partnership of 74 rescuing things. But when Carmichael went, he didn't get the partners that maybe he would have wanted, and in the end Kletz was dismissed and the tail didn't really wag.
Warriors bowling lineup. Graham Hume again at the top, 4 overs 2 for 31, but good to see Ram Macbeth back in the fold again. His first performance for the Warriors this year, shaped it nicely up top, and then good support today from David O'Sullivan. He particularly bowled a really good last over, 2 for 32. But again, the standout today, Andy McBrine with his off spin. He's the only spinner on show today that really managed to get the pace of the pitch, 2 for 28.
And in reply, Northwest Warriors started well and they continued well. 83 from 48 for Sam Topping. He'll be kicking himself that he didn't manage to go on to 3 figures, but he really did set up a win, and the platform was laid in the power play with Andy Balbirnie. That first 6 overs really setting things up, 65 without loss there. And then Egan came in once Balbirnie was gone. He ran really well right throughout, hit boundaries when he needed to. And McBrine, well, he'll have enjoyed his little cameo at the end because he would have been nerveless coming in at number 4 to finish things off.
Well, something we don't often say about Northwest Warriors. Good partnerships right the way through. It only lasted a couple. 86 for the first partnership between Topping and Balbirnie. Really set it up. But then when that first wicket fell, next one Topping and Egan kicked it going with 50 more. And then even when Topping came out, Egan and McBrine saw it home with 41. Excellent partnerships from the Warriors.
And not a day for the bowlers for the Northern Knights. Only Humphreys managing to get the wickets. He managed to get the 2 openers, in fact, 2 for 32 from 4. Good comeback after a couple of expensive overs at the start. All the bowlers expensive, apart from Robertson, the left-arm spinner, just 0 for 25. No wickets for him, but really good economy. Tom Mays, Davey and Ross Adair, all expensive, going at over 10s in an over. And so that meant that the Northwest Warriors, with just 2 wickets, found things pretty easy. 9 balls to spare.
And there's your match summary from Game 2 today at Sydney Parade. Northern Knights never really got going after the start. It was only when Kletz hit a few boundaries. He got 58, Carmichael with 60. A good bowling performance all round from the Warriors, really. And then coming out even better with the bat. set up a platform between Topping and Balbirnie with 96 for the opening stand, and then Egan and McBrine took it home. No real standout bowlers for the Northern Knights, and the Warriors a pretty all-round good performance there. They've won today by 8 wickets, and as Isabel said, they've closed up the table. We've got 2 more games back here at Sydney Parade tomorrow, second day of the final festival. We have the Reds versus the Knights in the morning, and then the Leinster Lightning taking on the Warriors. So from myself, Ali McCalmont, and Isabel Joyce, lovely to have your company today. We'd love you to join us tomorrow at around 10:45.